What's going on, everybody? Shout out to y'all for being here. Got a great show lined up for you today. Having some technical difficulties with TikTok. Every once in a while, TikTok makes me reset some things and ask me questions about me going live. So it's hit or miss. But you can always find me on YouTube. You can always find me on YouTube, 10 a.m. Saturdays. That's not gonna slow us down. That's not gonna stop us from what we came here to do. We came here to put on a great show and get your Saturday started right. All right, so as y'all know, I'm off the record D. I've got a great show for y'all today. We're gonna go over the Netflix all women's Netflix boxing event that MVP and Jake Paul put on last night. One of my favorite people, Alicia Baumgartner, she took the unanimous win. Katie Taylor also wins the trilogy in a close fight versus Amanda Serrano. Then we're going to get to the NBA. We got Jalen Williams, who played through playing in all the finals and the playoffs, and nobody cares. The media doesn't care. Coach Prime is back. He was at the Big 12 Pro Day. He made some comments that some people thought were crazy, but I thought they were normal. They made a lot of sense. Then we're going to get to Podcast P. He had a great interview with the legendary Jim Jackson. He was the fourth overall pick in the 1992 NBA draft out of Ohio State. He played for a bunch of different teams. He sued the NBA. He was suing the NBA, so he only got to play 28 games in his rookie year. He also was part of that epic Game 7 where Kobe uh, essentially refused to shoot the ball in the second half of the game. The second half of the game. So he breaks down how he viewed it as a teammate of Kobe at the time. So we're going to get to that. Then everybody got it wrong on LeBron opting in and what that meant for the Lakers payroll. Nick Wright took exception to that. He went scorched earth. We're going to break that video down. Then also we had a big Summer League debut from Cooper Flag. I gave a quick reaction to it, but we're going to get into that and just see if we should believe the hype in the Cooper Flag. And then we're going to wrap the show up with comment creeping. I'm going to let y'all see some of the comments that people say to me on either my TikTok or my YouTube. So definitely a great show. Like, comment, subscribe, so you can catch notifications, so you can get me weekly. Because as you see, sometimes I'm on TikTok, sometimes I'm not. Just depends on how TikTok is treating me at the time. But you can always catch me on YouTube, and then you get updates from me on X. So if anything is changing, it's Offtharecorddee, all one word, on all platforms. So shout out to y'all for being here. All right, so that is our open. The first thing we're gonna get to, let's get to the all women's event that we had last night on Netflix. So I got some new tools. I think I want to start doing behind the scenes and just kind of showing people how my setup is, what I use for my setup, and then I got some new stuff that I'm excited to use for my setup. So uh, let's see. I want to put something down here so it's not just black. See y'all here. I'm doing this thing live as we go. All right, there we go. That looks a little bit better. All right, good. That looks better. Now let's get it on the screen. All right, so MVP Promotions, Most Valuable Promotions, they put on a big event at Madison Square Garden last night. It was a great event. You see it on the screen. These were so they did 4 matches on their YouTube, and then they did 5 matches on Netflix that were live. It was a great broadcast. I watched the entire Netflix portion of it. All of the fights on Netflix seemed to be very competitive, evenly matched. And one thing that people have to give Jake Paul his props for, everybody say, oh, he's a YouTube streamer. They used to say that to kind of dismiss him. But what you have to say is when he puts together a boxing event, that boxing event is going to have action. They're going to have boxers who are actually there to box, and they're not afraid to take hits and stuff like that. So I think he put on a great event last night, especially finishing up that trilogy with Taylor and Serrano. So I thought it was a great event. The I don't want to mess up her name, but the Marshall versus Green fight, I thought that was a great fight. Green actually, it took her a while to kind of get used to Marshall because Marshall was she kind of fights unorthodox, kind of like Tyson Fury. So it took Marshall a while, but once Marshall settled in and she kind of understood where she could pick and choose and where she could kind of hit her and really sting her, she took advantage of it and she won that fight. Next fight. So let's scroll down here. So my girl, Alicia Baumgartner, you see it here on the screen. I will say this about Jennifer Miranda. She also has kind of an unorthodox style to how she boxes. The way she was moving around, kind of sliding her front foot. It was awkward how she was moving around, how she's swinging her hands. She definitely could take a punch because she took a bunch of mean punches. And she still was there. She still was fighting. She wasn't just there like, you get to a point in certain matches where you see that, one boxer is just trying to survive. They're just trying to get out of there alive. It wasn't that with Jennifer Miranda. She was still coming hard. She was still coming forward. She was still attacking. And she actually, I know it's been 2 years since Alicia Baumgartner been in the ring, but she kind of hit Alicia Baumgartner more than I've seen her get hit in recent fights with some pretty good hits. So I thought that was a great fight. I was definitely excited about that. It was a unanimous decision, and people were saying that Miranda won the fight. Me personally, I don't think Miranda won the fight, and I think it's just an easy way you break it down. The easy way to break it down is you look at it and say, okay, did the person going for the titles, did they dominate the fight to where it's not in the judges' hands? And it's no way that the judges can say like, oh, you didn't perform or anything like that. And I would say no. I think she held her on. I think she did well, but I don't think she did enough to win the fight. She couldn't really phase Alicia with her power. So once Alicia Baumgartner realized, I don't think she can knock me out, she just kind of kept pushing forward. And then it got to a point where towards the end of the fight, I want to say between like the 8th and the 10th rounds, Miranda was doing more holding. And it was because she was getting caught, and then she would just grab and hold and lean on her, trying to tire her out. But at that point, it's too late. You already lost the fight. So I definitely was happy for Alicia Baumgartner to get that win. I was excited that she took that dub. Now that was the co-main event. Now on to the main event. So the main event was the trilogy. All right, got it there. It was the trilogy. It was Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano 3. So coming into this fight, it was a lot of hype. The first two fights, I mean, you see here, Amanda Serrano's her walkout. She had somebody perform. She had the Knicks dancers. So she put a lot into this. Katie Taylor looking businesslike. But to me, the first fight could have been a toss-up. Either one of them could have won. The second fight, I really believe that Amanda Serrano won. That second fight, Katie Taylor won it. In this fight, I think that Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor both adjusted their strategies on what they were going to do. But I think even though Serrano threw so many more punches, so many more of those punches end up hitting air. And those punches hitting air, they didn't impact the fight at all. It just set up Katie Taylor for her counters, and her counters were quick and lethal. And to me, if you're gonna upset the champ, you got to take them all the way out. You can't leave it into the hands of a decision. And Amanda Serrano was not able to do that. I was pulling for Serrano. I wanted Serrano to win, but you can't leave it into hands. You had to get a knockdown. You had to do something that was going to make it clear that you won the fight, and that's not what happened. So that's not what happened. One thing I will say also after the fight, when they announced it, usually Katie Taylor is, she's not showing as much emotion. So you can tell it really got to her that people were saying she lost the second fight because she was showing a lot of emotion when they announced that she won. Amanda Serrano started to cry. She said they're not doing this again. They're not fighting anymore. So we got our 3 fights. It was great. It was great for women's boxing, but you can kind of see it here. So even though even though Amanda Serrano threw 217 jabs, she only landed 21. So a lot of that was just jabbing air just to kind of keep Katie Taylor off of her. Katie Taylor threw 94 jabs and she landed 13, so that's a way higher percentage you could just see. Then you go for power. So for power throws, so you have Katie Taylor throwing 137, and then she landed 57, and you had Amanda Serrano throwing 165, she landed 49. So just the percentage of throws, what is that, 100 and Amanda Serrano threw 150 more. She swung 150 more times, and they landed the exact same amount. So that just shows you like it wasn't as effective as she was in previous fights, and they did take a different strategy. But to me, when it's close, that's not gonna get it done. That's not gonna put people over the top where they're gonna say, "Yeah, you came and you took this fight." So I think that was the issue for Serrano. Um, I mean, it was a good fight, but she switched up her strategy because she believed it didn't work. But to me, the strategy that she took into the second fight, I think that would have been better suited than this strategy, because in the second fight, I think they just scored it wrong. But she was doing damage to Katie Taylor. And this fight, she wasn't doing the same level of damage to Katie Taylor. Katie Taylor just was baiting her in, getting her close off the ropes. She never stunned Katie Taylor in this fight. So, when you, just because a person lands a couple shots, if they don't stun the person, they don't do anything, then it's not making that big impact in the fight. So the way I judge it is the same way with Alicia Baumgartner. I look at it like you have to go in there, and to beat someone and take their belts, you really have to beat them. You can't go in there and basically tie them on punches thrown, never stun them, get no knockdowns, and then expect for the judges to say you won. It's not going to work. To some people, they say, oh, but Amanda Serrano was walking her down. Yeah, she was walking her down, but Katie Taylor's strategy was to counter, was to hit her hard on the counters. So she was allowing her to walk her down, which that's given Serrano, she's like, oh, my strategy's working. So she's walking in, but then when she's walking in, she's getting clipped on counters. So I'm not upset with how either fight was scored. And sometimes, man, it's a gift and a curse with social media. I just went to like people's responses, and they were saying Alicia Baumgartner lost, and then they were saying Katie Taylor lost. And, I think it's just one of those things where you look at it like a person has to put somebody out. So I'm going to go back to something that seems to be relevant again, but Drake and Kendrick Lamar. A lot of people say Kendrick Lamar won. I use the same thing I do with boxing. If you were coming for the title, you got to take that person out. And to me, K-Dot didn't take out Drake, because right after that, Drake is putting out hits and people are right on his side. If you want to know what a win in a rap battle looks like, look at 50 Cent and Ja Rule. 50 Cent changed the whole trajectory of Ja Rule's career when he went at them. That's winning a rap battle. If a person still does the same numbers that they always done, on pace to have more number ones than Michael Jackson, you didn't do it. You didn't do enough. So that was that. Lastly, what I want to say is this shows you how quickly things can change. So Jake Paul got into boxing. They said, oh, he's boxing, former NBA players, former MMA guys. But while he got into boxing for himself, he also did the business side well. If you watch that on Netflix, that was a well put together event last night. That was a well put together event. He had Layla Ali up there. That was a really well rounded event that he put on. So change, people they don't realize change until change is here. But then there are the visionaries. I'm always say this. There's the visionaries who impact the change and who control the actual change happening. And that's what Jake Paul is. Jake Paul is the one who has changed how women's boxing is viewed, and he put it in the forefront. And he's showing that, hey, they go out here and fight, and they're going to let their hands go. And I think that is a great thing for women's boxing. So definitely got to give a shout out to MVP and Jake Paul for that. So let's clap it up for them. So we're moving this thing along. The next thing we're gonna get to. So I'm always speaking on how the media is saying they gotta tell a story. We heard Brian Windhurst saying, "Oh, we gotta tell the story. We gotta tell the story." And if you're not telling the story, nobody's gonna care. So I personally, I don't believe that. And I think the media only wants to tell stories when it's stories that they actually write or stories where they break the news on the story. So we had guys, it was a big thing this playoffs with guys playing through injury. We saw what happened to Tyrese Halliburton. People saying he should go out there, he shouldn't go out there. He's changed his NBA trajectory, I would say, for 2 years, not the 1 year that everybody makes it out to be with the Achilles injury. And there's some people who play through injury and the media doesn't care. And they just act like it's part of the game. This is what you're supposed to do. So the first clip we got, let's see if my button's going to work. There we go. So we have Gil's Arena. Now, even though this is player-driven media, they are doing things and they are turning into the same media that they complain about. And it's slowly happening right before our eyes. What they're kind of realizing is when you're here, 4 or 5 times a week, and you're talking about subjects and you're trying to find subjects when there's not as many sports going on, you see why mainstream media, sports media, talks about stories like they do, and you kind of fall in that trap. So AD ended up getting eye surgery, and they're going to talk about it, and just watch how they react to it. And this is why I say, I remember I took a hard stance on injuries when people were calling for Darius Garland to play, and then now that's him having to have surgery, and nobody is saying anything after it was proven that he had to have surgery. So I believe that people, if they don't see the injury, they don't believe injuries are real. That's my take on how media views it, and they kind of back it up with, how they do things. And this is Gil's Arena. Let's go. Let me speed this thing
Anthony
up.
Davis underwent a procedure to...
Hold on. Let me speed it up. I don't listen to anything on 1 speed. So let's see. Let me turn this down a little bit in my headphones. It's loud for me, but
repair a detached retina that he suffered during the season. Sources tell ESPN Davis played through multiple hits to the face last year. He's expected to be healthy for next training camp.
What the... For your eye?
That is part of your eye.
Well, he can't even shoot him. He's blind. You know what I mean? Soon when D-Lo came, the nigga got blind. I told you. He said he can't see.
Expected to be healthy for training camp.
Well, he gonna snitch on who? I ain't do shit. I'm blind.
Can
gonna snitch on a blind nigga?
Barely.
I ain't never seen nobody snitch on a blind nigga.
AD played in 9 regular season games after their trade to Dallas last season, averaging 20 points, 10 boards, 2 blocks per game. So what are your expectations for AD as the Mavs' #1 option next season? His retina now reattached.
He just had surgery?
He just had surgery.
Detached retina, yeah, he had underwent a procedure.
When was their last game? April what?
It was in the month of April. Okay, well, maybe he tried some natural remedies that did not work. Yeah. Want to do some sightseeing before getting the surgery?
So I'm going to pause it here. So the first thing I'm going to address is, the first thing Gil said is, oh, when did their season end? Basically insinuating, why did he wait now to have surgery? Lack of understanding. That's the first thing. And he's already ready to diminish it and say, turn it into a negative of why he waited for surgery. So let's let it keep going.
You probably thought he could let it heal on his own. Like, he probably, yeah, that's one of them things.
Nah, Cooper Flag came.
Like, you think you can let it heal on his own, and it didn't
Change
to getting out. So you get exams and things like that, and just probably decided, okay, we need to do this. If we're going to do it, then we need to do it now. So
Mavs last game, April 18th, AD have.
So there you go. Thank you, Kmart. Thank you for thank you for just being level with your approach and why you said it. Oh, he probably tried to let it heal on his own. It wasn't getting better. So now he's saying, hey, we got to get this done now to make sure we're ready for the season. They're just going to jump over what Kmart just said, and they're going to go right back to what Gil was saying.
At 40 in that game.
he's got to sleep face down.
They said he should be ready
for a few days. And
Sleep face down.
Probably son.
Can you get the pirate patch or what?
No, you got to sleep face down for a few days with your head, and so he's like a massage table.
Why you got to do that? I'm just
Whatever
curious.
the blood pressure, the pressure,
Okay.
it's something flowing. It just wasn't.
Imagine if he sleep upright.
That's more I know this, but
Imagine if AD fuck around, roll over. He done the whole year.
So was
Blood rush to the back.
probably was it sun sensitivity, light sensitivity?
yeah,
You took a bunch of hits in the face.
So what was before they had the surgery? What was bothering?
No, first she detached it.
God damn.
And she was rubbing her eye and her rhythm detached.
Oh,
God damn, that don't.
but so like what was the symptoms? Like blurry.
Yeah, blurry vision. Like she really almost like couldn't see.
Oh, okay.
See?
yeah,
She cool now? Okay, so
yeah, just like
how long?
Do it hurt
How long
though?
was
It hurt?
Her recovery was about 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
Ooh.
Okay.
Next time he'll be ready for training camp.
All right. So he'll start wearing glasses and a mask probably next year.
Think about 8 weeks of not doing
So you see the views is changing. They had somebody on set who knew someone who went through the surgery, and they're explaining it. They were ready to diminish it originally. And then, because remember, the first thing he said was when their season end, so he's ready to diminish it. He couldn't diminish it. Kmart brought the levelness to the conversation on why. Kmart also gave some insight. They were ready to tease him, saying, "Oh, why you gotta sleep? You know, laying like in a massage, like on a massage table to make sure the pressure is not on it." So you have people taking it serious, and you got people ready to diminish it. And then they heard more of someone who actually, know someone who went through the surgery. They're changing their tune on it. It's like, oh, it's just 8 weeks. Okay. So people don't care about NBA players playing through injury. People only care about the narrative and how they view you. So on this show, Gilbert is a person who was turned into somebody who clowns Anthony Davis. So he doesn't care if he goes through a legit injury or not. He's just going to clown him. And that's what he was intending to do there.
like Amari.
8 weeks of doing nothing.
So
that was 8 weeks of
so
doing
Amari
nothing,
started
though, 'cause
Amari
you
like
can't
did the
move.
same thing. Like Amari, that's why Amari wore goggles for the rest of his career. Because if he got hit again,
Would've been blind.
there was a chance that he can go blind. So it's rather you wear protective goggles. Then that's why he only took them off to shoot free throws. You said Amari went to the line, took the motherfuckers off, shoot the free throws. There's action going on. He put them bitches back on. So
See? Fat blind nigga, the gargles. And they gonna make the playoffs.
Yeah, they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
So he'll be down a few weeks. Expect to be healthy
You
for
want to
training
bet?
camp.
You want to bet they make the playoffs?
8 weeks, AD doing nothing, and they gonna ramp it up?
Man,
You can't do nothing with an eye, because everything you do, you're gonna be shaking and shit. The blood don't rush to the face. You can't do nothing. 8 weeks ago. You think about it. You trying to strain your eye pop out. Come on, man.
Did a whole lift, nigga.
You're trying to lose.
See how quick they diminish it? So this is to Nick Young, and one of the things I say, this is a champion. So what people want to do is they want to elevate people and say you're a champion, so we should listen to more of how you view things because you're a champion. I think that you should view people based on what they are doing currently and how they're speaking on things currently. Initially, they want to clown them for it. They found a way all the way back around to it, to clown them for it. That's why I say they don't care about you playing injured. To me, I have no problem if a guy says, I'm not playing well, I'm not 100%. Look at Jedrick Wills. So everybody clowned him and said he's not playing well. Come to find out, injury related, he's still not healthy enough to come back and play. Now, they were clowning him when he probably was playing not at 100%. And now people are clowning him. They were doing it in Cleveland media. They're clowning Jedrick Wills because he's potentially going to miss this whole season due to that injury. And then they say, oh, well, he's injury prone. It's the same thing that they do with DeJuan Jones. They say, oh, DeJuan Jones is injury prone. Pull up DeJuan Jones' last injury. Pull up his last injury. DeJuan Jones' last injury was a guy getting basically dog walked in the backfield, falling into his leg. Not him, his body breaking down. Not him being unstable. You're not going to find me that many guys going to have another offensive lineman whip into their legs and then be able to play through that without some type of injury. So when people want to put a tag on you, they just put the tag on you regardless. I hear all the time on different shows where they say, oh, man, DeJuan Jones and everything is about his health. Everything is about his health. So I'm like, okay. Look at his injury history. What was his last injury? It doesn't fit the narrative. Just like here, AD playing through injury, it doesn't fit the narrative. So that's why the way I look at it is, if guys want to sit out, if guys don't want to play injured, don't play injured. Don't put yourself at risk, because what they're going to do is they're just going to speak like the injury never happened. They clown AD so much that AD is pushing to play through so many injuries and never bring it up into the media and then they still don't care. These are stories that they speak about their favorite players growing up when they had stomach aches and ate bad pizza, and they built the whole thing about the flu game with Michael Jordan playing and Scottie Pippen helping him walk off the court, and he's drained for energy and all this stuff, dehydrated. And then they say, oh man, it's probably bad pizza. But you got guys like AD, barely could probably see through one eye, finished the season playing through that after he sustained another injury when he first got to Dallas, and they don't care. They don't care at all. So that's why, like, when you're making a decision that's going to be, is going to alter your career, you make it based on what you believe and the best decision you can make, not based on the people on the outside who are clowning you. So that's the same way with Tyrese Halliburton. We're at the point now where if you have a calf strain that's late into the year, you should rest it. You shouldn't play because we know it has the potential to lead to an Achilles tear, and that's 2 years. Because when people say, oh, it's just a year injury, then you'll be back. No. Look at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers messed up his Achilles. It took him about a year and a half till he looked better. So this is closer to a 2-year injury, not a 1-year injury. So you can't don't fall for playing for people, because that's what they're gonna do. They're just gonna clown you about it. So that's Gil's Arena. We're gonna come back to them. We got something else to talk about with them, but that's why I say they don't care about guys being injured. The next story, this should have been this story right here. So this is Jalen Williams. He was the second best player on the Oklahoma City Thunder team all year. He's going to talk about the injury that he sustained and how he played through it. He basically had 6 days leading to the playoffs to teach himself how to shoot off his fingertips and not follow through with his wrist. And people, he didn't mention, they never talked about him being injured. He never made anything a big deal about it. This is a legendary story. This right here, this story, he put this out 3 days ago. This should have been all over sports media, because these are the stories that they talk about when they talk about Kobe. They talk about Kobe tearing his Achilles and then going shooting 2 free throws. They talk about, I think it was Kyrie injuring his ACL and then going to shoot the free throws. These guys who play through these injuries and still reach the ultimate goal, the mountaintop, were even in the NBA Finals when everybody just decided they didn't like Shea. They were saying after he had that 40 ball that maybe he could be the NBA Finals MVP. Then he came back and had a bad shooting game in the next game in Game 6. But this should have been a story that everybody should know about. These are the stories that Brian Windhurst is saying that people need that extra story. So now what we're finding out is they didn't hype up the Oklahoma City Thunder versus all season, basically. The last 2 years, they've been one of the best teams in the league. They weren't talked about enough. They weren't on prime time enough. They didn't start to sell the story of the Oklahoma City Thunder and their greatness. And there was missed opportunities. Then you go into the NBA Finals. The media, national media before the NBA Finals, oh man, 2 small market teams. It's going to be a trash NBA Finals. We don't have the storylines to talk about and all this stuff. That's what everybody was saying leading into this NBA Finals. Then come to find out, all these storylines were there. Tyrese Halliburton is way better. The Indiana Pacers way better. Rick Carlisle out coaching guys all throughout the playoffs. The Oklahoma City Thunder, so much better. Denver pushed them 7 games. People only highlighted that, oh man, Aaron Gordon got injured. He was injured for Game 7. Michael Porter Jr. was injured. Well, come to find out, that whole time, the second best player in the Oklahoma City was injured on his shooting wrist. That's why this should be a way bigger story. That's why I'm harping on this, because they want us to believe that this is not a big story. This is what legends are made of. If this happened in the 80s, this will be a legendary story that everybody will hear about. If this happened in the 90s, this will be a legendary story that everybody will hear about. Because they make way smaller stories, way more legendary than this. So let's get to Jalen Williams. He's going to talk about it. I'm going to speed them up just a tad bit. But this is just more layers or levels of proof that they don't care about storylines, even when the storylines fit every level of intrigue that they should. So let's go.
What up, YouTube? It's Dub, obviously. First off, go like the last video we posted. We're going to post and drop another recap video, just like the behind-the-scenes footage of what happens during the playoffs and like our finals run. Obviously, it's been a super long time since I've like sat here and like talked in front of the camera, but what I want to address, I don't know when we'll drop this video, but it'd be pretty recent. So basically what has happened since last time I like really posted was, what was it, since All-Star maybe, bro? Yeah. Yeah, so basically we won a championship. Yay, crowd noise. But we won a championship. What I wanted to get on here and address and what the video is about is obviously my hand. And just like my wrist and like playing with it just throughout the playoffs. So I kind of want to just get right into it and keep this video kind of quick. Recently, as of this week, Sam came out and finally like talked about how like I tore my, I'm going to put what I tore in the video so you guys can like see it, and I'll put like a description so you guys can read a little bit about it. But I tore, it's like the scapholunate ligament in my wrist, which gives you like mobility to go down, up, and side to side. Essentially, I tore that one completely. I tore it April 9th, I believe, when we played the Suns. I tore it actually during the game, like start of the third quarter. So what happened was me and D-Book had a jump ball, and you know how like you like wrestle for the ball and like nobody really wants to like give the ball up? So that's basically what happened. I just remember like pulling my hand out of the mix. It was like a couple people involved in the jump ball. I remember pulling my hand out the mix, bro, and like I kind of like heard like almost like a paper ripping noise or like a like air like kind of noise, like a switch. And I'm like looking around a little bit, and then my hand is just on fire. Like the whole top of my wrist is on fire. Now, if I backtrack a little bit, I think what like caused it to kind of just give out was I had been dealing with a wrist sprain already throughout the like majority of the season. So it was very annoying that like I finally had gotten to a point before that where I was shooting better and like it didn't hurt, and I had gotten used to the pain, and the sprain was getting better, to tearing it completely. So that was a lot. Obviously I finished that game. I remember it was burning, and then I think I took like some ibuprofen during the game, and I was good after. Like I didn't really feel it. Obviously in Arizona, like my family and friends are here, so I didn't really think about it too much. I went to the hotel after we had like team dinner, went out with my family. I get to the hotel, and like halfway through the night my hand like swelled up like crazy. Like my fingers are fat, like my whole wrist is swollen. I couldn't flex my hand up or down, sideways. Like it's the worst it's ever been. We get an MRI the next day after I fly back. My hand's still in pain, can't really move it. The worst it's ever felt. Get my MRI results back like 2 days later. They're like, you tore it. And this is around the time when the season had just ended, so we have a week off. So to describe this like week and a half that we got off, it was, I think we got 9 days off and we got a little more time because the season ended and then we got those 9 days. So, or like 7 days or whatever. So we ended up getting like 10 days, 10 days off, whatever the case may be. They were telling me, and I don't want to make this like a Kobe thing or just like, but that was one of the people that they had brought up that had done it before and played through it. So they were saying it was doable. But just throughout the week, I was working on shooting in a way, I basically changed my jump shot from that week up until then to like shoot in a way that like required touch and like only use my fingertips so I didn't have to follow through all the time. I basically did that for like 6 days, and then we came up with a solution to start doing like, I think I got a cortisone shot and then I got a lidocaine shot, and I started practicing with those two. And you guys will see in the video, I'm gonna have JoJo do like a little like time lapse when I get back to it, but I was getting lidocaine shots before every single game that we played in the playoffs. And sometimes during the week when we had multiple days off, so I could still work on my jump shot. So I get all these shots.
All right, so I'm just gonna pause it here. Shout out to him, man. Shout out to him. He really just fought through and put it all on the line, and he didn't make any excuses. I remember people were talking bad about him, about his shooting. They're saying he's not shooting the same way. He's going to mention that later in the video, but this is a legendary story. This is how legends are made. This is how legends are born. Everybody before the playoffs said that the Oklahoma City Thunder were too young, not enough experience. They were questioning if he could be the second best player on a championship caliber team. They were doing all of those things. And I remember Gil's Arena, they were talking about, because they lost, they got blown out in Denver, in the Denver series. And when they got blown out in the Denver series, somebody said something to Shea after the game. He was kind of laughing as he was walking over the court. And I remember Jalen Williams was saying, basically, we just got crushed. We got to take it and move on. And Gil's Arena, more specifically, McCants was saying, I don't know if they have it in them because of how they were acting as they left the court. Oh, man, I don't know if they have it in them. I don't know if they got that dog in them. I don't know if they really like that. And what people tend to do is people only use two examples when it comes to who they believe has that competitive edge to them. They use Kobe and they use Michael Jordan. If you don't do things exactly how Kobe and Michael Jordan did it in the moment in a lot of people's eyes, you don't care. They say that all the time about LeBron. Oh man, no killer instinct. No, he don't care. You know, he too passive. They always say that. And then on the other side of it, when you hear people who win against LeBron and play LeBron in the playoffs, they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're completely wrong about that. This is another instance where people were completely wrong about how they view Oklahoma City Thunder. And it was a time where I was thinking, I was like, man, should I just go back and show y'all how people spoke on the Oklahoma City Thunder prior to the playoffs? But I was like, man, it's just beating a dead horse. They were just so wrong. So I ended up not doing it. But I remember one of the Morris twins were on ESPN First Take, and they were saying, oh man, they don't have enough. You know, they're not gritty enough. We haven't seen enough from them. Come to find out, they have more than enough. And when their back is up against the wall in Game 7, people don't want to talk about this, but they smacked Denver. It wasn't even close with what they did to Denver. So people don't really believe what they say. They don't want the real stories. They want the stories that they create. So let's listen to some more of this. Because I watched this whole thing and I thought this was a great example of a legend being born right before our eyes. And the media just missing it. So let's go.
I get that cortisone injection and the lidocaine shot, and I like work out with it a couple times during that week to get ready for the Memphis series. We're trying all different types of tape. I'm coming in after practice even more with different tape, and we're trying different adjustments to see how I can dribble without having to flex my hand down and just like all this stuff. So first, shout out to the medical team, the people over across the street that helped with my whole entire thing, all the doctors that gave me my shots, Donnie, Toby. I'm blanking on the other doctor's name right now, but just like our medical staff, the doctors over there just did a tremendous job throughout the whole entire playoffs helping me out. But yeah, back on track to that. We end up playing the Memphis series. My hand actually does pretty well. Like I said, I'm getting the lidocaine shots before every game. The good thing about the Memphis series was that we only had a day in between each time. I didn't have to worry about like my hand getting really stiff afterwards or like that sort of thing. So we went through the process of playing Memphis. I would say for Memphis, the game that hurt the most was, I would say probably like after game 3, my wrist was in a bad spot and I had to get another injection of, I think, cortisone. And that like took away the swelling. I don't know how to explain it, but like the swelling would go into the outsides of my hand and it'll make it really hard to go left and right too. And then obviously the state of the tear that I had going all the way down and up was bad. And if you know, like from shooting, like setting the ball under your hand is like a really important part of shooting. So like I said, I changed my jump shot around to like do a lot of things. So like catch and shooting was really hard because you just can't set your hand to be ready for it, and it's like I had to like slide my hand under and like get the ball prepped, so my jumper was a little slower, my release point was different, everything was like revolved around like my fingertips and like really jumping on a lot of my jump shot to like not have to flex my fingers all the way down. And so like the more the series went on, like the more practice I just had with like shooting it in live game reps. Obviously the taping that I was doing, that there will be pictures in this video as well that you can kind of see. Like we did different types of tape almost every game until something worked. We finished the Memphis series, we get a little more time off. We played game 1 with Denver. I'm doing the same thing, the shot like the lidocaine shots before every game. And then the Denver series was a little interesting, and this is not to sit here and make excuses for like not shooting well or whatever the case may be, but the Denver series was interesting because we played more games, so just over time like my hand's gonna get worse, and that was something we knew going into it. Problem with the Denver series was trying to figure out a good time to start the lidocaine shots. What was happening in Memphis was I would get bumped or have to stop somebody, or like just like regular basketball stuff was like speeding up the lidocaine not working anymore. So I would go into like finishing the games where my hand would be like basically done for, and it wasn't like numb anymore. Like lidocaine is too numb, and like so when I can flick my wrist down, I wouldn't feel anything. So we were running into that issue. So Denver,
like I'm saying, y'all, this just is legendary that he played through all of this. He played through all of this. They never talk about it. They never spoke on it. And even, just shooting bad games, people crushing them. And then also the other thing I realized, if the media doesn't break the story, they don't want to talk about it. And the media didn't know that he was going through all of this. And then it makes you wonder, like, when they get up there every day on just, you pick this sports show, and they talk about how they got inside people and all this stuff. How did he play the whole playoffs injured and nobody know? We didn't hear not one person talk about it. Not one person. Nobody even said, oh, this looks different. His shot looks different. Nobody said one thing. Not one thing. So now, in turn, how am I supposed to believe that these guys are really plugged in? How am I supposed to believe they really know what's going on? How am I supposed to believe they're really connected? They sit in their games playing solitaire, talking about they watch so many games. Think about this. Your favorite player. I'll use LeBron as an example. When LeBron was playing the Toronto Raptors, I was watching some highlights from it. And this was his second stint in Cleveland when Toronto had that really great teams a couple years in a row. It got to a point where LeBron was in Toronto and he just couldn't miss. He started shooting the ball with his left hand. And I noticed it instantly. I'm like, dang, he's shooting this stuff left-handed because he normally shoots right-handed. So I just it triggered something in me as a fan noticing that it was different. So how do you have people that cover the game so closely, they're at the games, they're in the locker rooms afterwards, and they had no idea that his shooting form changed? No idea. So people think that I'm just always taking shots on the media, but a lot of these things that I'm saying about the media are legit because they're missing stuff that's happening right in front of them. So we're going to play a little bit more of this, and then we're going to move on to the next thing. But I really just wanted to show you how a legendary story here that the media is not running with. They talked about LeBron going to another team for 2 weeks, even though it was fiscally not possible, financially impossible for him to go to another team. They talked about that story every single day. They talk about all these things that don't matter, and they have real stories they can speak on, which if Oklahoma City is going to be a team of the future, they're going to be one of the great teams going forward the next 3 to 5 years. This is when you start telling those stories to help the audience learn more about them and what they're really putting into it. Do you think the media took that? Nope. I don't care. Because this is not something you can debate. This is not something you see him with the cast on, saying. I always say people usually only care about you getting injured when they can see something that shows that you're injured. They couldn't see that he was injured without a cast. It don't matter. I think he's gonna say how many shots he got.
Series, actually, what made my hand the worst it was, and it was swollen for it was swollen for a good amount of the Denver series. Like, we couldn't really get the swelling down, and obviously you can't keep getting the cortisone shot. So we started pushing my lidocaine shot to 10 minutes before the game, and that way, to start the game, it wouldn't, my wrist would be hurting, and then halfway through the game, it would start to kick in more and more, and then that way it could last the rest of the game. Now, there's a play, I'm gonna try and have JoJo find the clip with me and Aaron Gordon. He drives the ball, and we get caught up in a jump ball. He snatches, the ball really quick while I'm still holding on to it. Obviously, my pride, I'm not trying to let go of the ball. And basically the same thing that happened with Devin Booker happened again, that same pull motion. And that kind of messed my hand up until game 7. So from game 4 till game 7, my hand was completely jacked up. And even game 7, my hand was pretty bad, but we had taped and done, we got an extra 2 days in between that 6 and 7, so we were able to damage control a little bit. But when you're playing every other day, it was just too hard to really manage my hand. So a lot of the games I was just going through not thinking about my hand and just playing with the lidocaine shots and hoping that they last the whole entire game. So that was those 2 series. Honestly.
All right, so we've seen a lot of people say that guys were injured and injuries determine the outcome of this NBA Finals. But now when you hear this and you see how injured he was, and this happened prior to the playoffs beginning, he's been injured the whole time, had to get surgery right after. Does this change how you view the Oklahoma City Thunder? Does this change how you view Jalen Williams? Let me know. Hit me in the comments. When I clip this thing up, let me know. Let me know if this is off base. That, to me, this changes how I view him. I view him totally different. And I think that since he's not demonstrative, outwardly demonstrative, like people want to see from what they saw from a Kobe and a Jordan, people think that they don't have that dog in them. But you can't tell me, as he's talking about this, what he went through and how he's breaking down that the hardest part for him was games 4 through 7 in Denver. And basically he retoured what he did previously. You can't tell me he's not a dog. He's a dog in my book, and I definitely gonna be watching him all year. So shout out to J-Dub really breaking that down. I thought that was just a really good thing, and the NBA media and sports media doesn't care about injuries. So Let me know in the comments. Do y'all think the media cares about injuries, or do you think they just care about narratives? Let me know. Moving this thing right on along. So we've been hearing a lot of stuff about the second apron. So the Oklahoma City Thunder seem to have a better grasp of how to deal with the second apron, and a part of that is because their talent is homegrown. So they just committed to over $800 million in contracts. They signed Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, J-Dub, who we just seen, and SGA. So this is going to be Bobby Marks breaking it down.
All right, a happy Thursday. Hopefully everyone's doing great. We are in the confines of Thomas and Mack Arena. I'm sitting actually on a stairwell because it is challenging to find a quiet place here in the Las Vegas Summer League. And I wanted to do a video on certainly the extensions in Oklahoma City. There might be random people walking down these stairs pretty soon. So we're going to do the best we can with this video just to get it out because I know there are a lot of questions regarding the extensions of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and certainly Chet Holmgren here, and how it is going to impact Oklahoma City moving forward. Certainly we live in a world of aprons, and now when you see the Thunder commit, nearly $800 million in extensions, it automatically brings a red flag as far as what is going to happen next for the roster. And I think it's important to kind of lay out as far as where we are. A little bit about the extensions. When we announce extensions, they are projections. They're projections based on where the salary cap is. I know that the numbers come out, but it's based on what the projection is going to be in 2025, 26, or certainly with Shai 2 years from now, which would be 2027, 28. The most for Chet and Jalen is 246, 7%. That's based on a 10% projection. Certainly, Jalen can earn a little bit more because he's got some escalators in his contract. We'll wait and see what's going to happen there. With Shai, it's 285. It potentially could increase to 293. The cap, as we have seen it, is going to grow. Projected 7%. That's where we get to 239. It potentially could go to 246 if it is a. See, now we have somebody walking up to. That's okay. We're good. I've already warned everyone that we're gonna have people walking. So it could go up to 246 if the salary cap increases 10%. Here's why it's important to focus on 3 players, 26 years or younger, under contract through 2030, 31. That is unprecedented when we're looking at max level type players. 13 first-round picks in the next, I had 14, but I added one by mistake. 13 first-round picks in the next 7 years. The sustainability as far as to keep on replenishing with young players. When you look at certainly the revenue stream that is coming into Oklahoma City, when you look at a new arena, when you look at the new TV contract, we potentially have expansion. This is a Thunder team that ranked in the 5th lowest in payroll since 2020-21. So basically all that savings is now going to go towards where this roster is going to be. Will Oklahoma City be in the second apron next year? Most likely. Will they be a luxury tax team? Yes. But the apron rules are designed basically to eliminate some of the resources that you have to kind of add from the outside to add to your roster. When you have your core 3 players under contract, along with Alex Caruso and Kaysen Wallace and Kenrick Williams and Lou Dort and Isaiah Hartenstein, and you have 14 or 15 players under contract, that basically eliminates those what the league is trying to do as far as teams getting fat and going out and make trades here. When you already have a group that's under contract for the foreseeable future, the apron rules are mitigated here. The apron rules actually help Oklahoma City because it doesn't allow some of these higher market teams to go from 0 to 10 and make these high risk trades or high spending trades to go out and acquire talent. That basically is eliminated here. Will eventually we see different reiterations or iterations of where the Thunder are in 2 years from now? I would say probably. And I think that's the nature as far as where things certainly are, as far as where we live in a world with changing rosters. I think a good example, and I said this on NBA today is the 90s Bulls, right? We saw 2 different versions of the 90s Bulls. We saw the 90s Bulls with Jordan and Pippen, who were the constant players. And if you look at Oklahoma City, constant players are Shai, Chet, and SGA. And then we had the 90s Bulls where it was the second group, when you had Rodman to that group, Steve Kerr, we had Horace Grant, we had a lot of different versions as far as where Luke Longley, a lot of different versions as far as.
All right, so that's Bobby Marks on Oklahoma City Thunder and what they're doing with their salary cap. So I was also reading something saying that they're going to go into luxury tax. They're not going to be in a separate second apron for 2 years. But in 2 years, they're going to have $77 million that they can get off the books because they got team options there. So then they'll be able to get right back below the second apron and luxury tax. And then, like he said, they have their players under contract, and then they have all these draft picks. where they're going to be able to replenish their team. Now, the side of the second apron that I think people are missing that with the second apron, the big moves in free agency penalize you more. That's what's going to penalize you more. So you got to draft guys, you got to build guys up, and then you get more time with them. And then when you sign them to the big extensions, then they're there on your team. You have them for more years. So the free agency market is going to change forever. Unless it's a homegrown dynasty, we probably won't be seeing another dynasty for a while due to how you get penalized for it. And a lot of these dynasties are built through free agency and trades. And just it's not going to be as flexible moving forward. So I think Oklahoma City, that's why I was saying earlier, I think Oklahoma City is in a great position to be good for the next couple of years. And with that, I think the NBA should be looking at promoting them more, getting them on more marquee matchups, letting people actually see them and highlight them more. Because the teams that they always go to highlight, they're just not going to be as good. The Lakers they're going to make the playoffs, but they're just not going to be as good long term until they kind of retool their roster. The Golden State Warriors just not going to be that much better long term. Boston Celtics. So these teams, the Miami Heat that they always go to and they want to show and highlight, they're just not going to be as good. So it's going to be teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's going to be teams like the Cavs who they should highlight more, who are going to be together. So that's my take on that. But that shows you the other side where all this fear about the second apron, luxury tax, and what it could do to your team versus in reality what you're able to do if you have a good GM, great scouting department, and you're building your team through the draft. So that is Bobby Marks. What is the next topic we got? All right, we got GBush. So I haven't
always beat the drum.
Sorry. Hey, man, you talking while I'm talking. Shout out to GBush. Fair use for all the videos I'm using. Make sure you go to everybody's channel and check out their videos that I'm using. So I haven't spoken on the Browns in a while because it just hasn't been new news to speak on. And, the biggest news coming out is, just clips, Shedeur Sanders working out and things like that. And I think that, people are kind of hit a wall on using Shedeur Sanders in every video because they don't have new information to give. And then also people kind of box themselves in by only talking about the Cleveland Browns. So I've been waiting until, I believe it's July 18th that the rookie's going to be back in camp. That's when we'll start to add more. That's when we'll start to add more things on the Cleveland Browns, Shedeur Sanders, and all things NFL and football. So, I just wasn't going to, I wasn't going to just force talking about the Browns when you got NBA free agency, NBA draft, you got summer league starting, you got these great boxing events, you had the NBA finals. I just wasn't going to keep forcing it. But I believe this from a week ago, GBush has a great question, and the title of this video is, are Browns fans fed up with local media coverage? And we're going to let him give his example, and then I'm going to elaborate and go a step further on what I think it is.
Shedeur Sanders. He was on with another one of his hosts, and he was talking about it, and he said somebody had said they had soured on Shedeur Sanders. They had, thought about, well, maybe I was high on him, and now I'm kind of second guessing. And I'm guessing this came around the whole speeding thing, or then came around where he's not getting first team reps, or it came around all the hype and hysteria that people was trying to make it seem like people was in a cult or some sort, like they didn't Shedeur wasn't good, and they're just supporting him. I don't know why he's popular, all that good stuff. So Jonathan Peterlin says, how could any media member or fan sour on Shedeur Sanders and there hasn't been anything done? He hasn't played any games. And in practice, he's killing it with the threes or the fours or the two, whatever. He's not even getting first team reps. And people is upset about it. But the reps he's getting, he's balling. So how is it that you're soured on him when you haven't seen any sort of concrete evidence to say, oh, this is why I'm souring on the situation. This is why I can't do the Shedeur Sanders thing. And so I talked to him. We were having a conversation, and I was telling him, when I heard that on the radio, he was saying, it sparked something in my head. You know how I do. Because I try to understand human nature. I try to figure out why people think the way they do. Because I do see that. Not from everybody. But we are a different bunch here. The Browns media and our fan base, we're a little bit of a different bunch, right? They're my bunch. I always thought that, yeah, that's great. He's a 5th round pick, but once you get here, it's about evaluating what he does in your jersey, right?
Exactly.
And I thought about it, and I tried to figure out why a lot of people think that way. And I had to go back and say, the Browns haven't won anything since 1989. They haven't even won a division since 89.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember us talking about
the year I was born.
We used to talk about that on the pregame and postgame shows all the time. And what happens is there is a level of maturity that the media and the fan base gets to when you're covering or watching a team that has success. Because you get to experience all the levels of maturity. You get to go from, hey, we drafted this guy. We saw what a successful quarterback looks like. We got a coach in here. We see what a successful coach looks like. We go through the process of saying, okay, well, now we're building, putting guys around. We lost in the first round. Oh, wow, listen, we overachieved this year.
So this is GBush breaking it down. He was a guest on 92.3 The Fan, and he's saying basically that when you have a greatly ran organization, they don't harp on small things like, is this cornerback good? Is this cornerback bad? They harp on you continuously getting better to continuously win. And eventually he's going to get to, he believes that there are some fans and some media who are kind of scarred based on how bad the Browns have been. And I agree with that. And I think that people just lump it all together. So I watch a lot of different stuff Browns related, and I always hear them kind of just lump in the last 3 GMs and their draft picks and then say the Browns have always been bad at drafting. I hear them say Andrew Berry, all his picks have missed, and then you look at it, and a lot of his picks have been late round, and they're expecting to hit the lottery on late round picks. Then they don't act like his late round picks that are doing well or that they don't act like they're valuable because they feel like it doesn't happen enough. It doesn't happen enough. So before last season, people were talking about they would keep Martin Emerson and get rid of Denzel Ward. He was a late round pick. Look at DeJuan Jones. He did great. His rookie year at right tackle. He's working his way in. He's going to be our starting left tackle this year. He's a late round pick. So people just go to, Jedrick Wills didn't work. Greg Newsome. Oh man, he's not, he's not the corner that we thought. Yeah, we took an outside corner and turned him into a slot corner. And then we thought it wasn't going to take time for him to change. So people just knock it. Then they don't look at, they say, oh man, he hasn't drafted any great wide receivers. He's always drafting wide receivers late. Ever since the Deshaun Watson trade, which now it seems like the ownership pushed for that Deshaun Watson trade. But then people say, oh, but you were the GM when it happened, even though the owners came out and said it was a big swing and miss. First fully guaranteed contract. That's an owner's decision. But people put it on the GM. Then when we get these wide receivers, we get best years out of Amari Cooper. He's not even signed right now. People were mad that we didn't bring him back. Jared Judy, he has a great year last year. So to me, I don't mind how you create the dish. I mind the results of the dish. So as we are getting guys who are playing good and playing better, give them props for that. When we re-signed David Njoku to his extension, and then he started out to be, top 5 tight end in the NFL, give them props for that. So people just knock it without giving them props. So that's the first side where I really agree with GBush. But I'm going to take it a step further. The step further I'm going to take it is I believe that Shedeur Sanders is like striking it's like an electrical shock to any town he was going to go to. And what happens is that's when you realize the infrastructure is bad, like thunder and lightning. You get thunder and lightning, you don't think about it. Let something get struck by lightning close to you. And then you say, man, the infrastructure's bad. The power's out. We got trees falling. You see all the things that are bad after it happens. And that's what Shedeur Sanders is to the local Cleveland media. You had people who were just saying he was bad. You got people saying there has to be a reason why he fell to the fifth. You got people saying that the Browns value Dylan Gabriel more than him. You got people saying, oh, we shouldn't be talking about a fifth-round pick. You got people saying, oh, the people that, back Shedeur, they're unrealistic in how they view him. So you got all these things happening. But one thing it did was it shows you that the infrastructure wasn't good. So then early on, I started saying, hey, Mary Kay is just a reporter. She's trying to tell stories. So her football analysis is off. I called it right away. We're going through the pre-draft stuff. We have, different Cleveland media. None of them are actually watching film on these guys, and they're just listening to the next person and their view on what people are saying, how they view a guy. And I'm like, that's kind of dangerous. You're just going to put everything in this person's hands on how you view a player instead of you actually looking at that player. Now, we have all these eyeballs on Cleveland, and everybody's tuned in. They want the Shedeur information. You have the local media being highlighted, and they're dropping the ball. And you realize it doesn't really seem like they really want to do this job, or it seems like they might have a different agenda. And then people realize how polarizing Shedeur is. I know people don't like that word, but just look up the definition. It's true. People are split into two groups, love or hate Shedeur. That's the two groups. I don't care that people don't like words and words hurt people's feelings, but he's polarizing. Now, I'm not even saying it's his choice to be polarizing. He just is polarizing. So you have people split into two groups on love and hate him. So when you have these situations, you have more people see an opportunity to say, hey, I want to speak on sports. I want to speak on, my love for Cleveland sports and the Browns and all these teams. And you're going to see people kind of work their way up into being more known because you actually see what the media has been doing for all this time. Not to mention the Tony Grossies who never seem happy. You know what I'm saying? The Aaron Hammers who on the radio all the time talking down, and then you see him, he can't even catch a fly ball at batting practice. So you see how unathletic he is. So it's going to be times where you're going to get a shock and stuff is going to have an immediate change, and it's never going to go back to being the same. As long as Shedeur Sanders is on the Cleveland Browns, what the Cleveland media used to be able to get away with, they're no longer going to be able to get away with, and they got to move forward with the times because they're going to have people fact checking them when they say things. I always laugh about it. We've seen so many people in the Cleveland media had to come back after being fact checked with what they've been saying about Shedeur Sanders. We can't even count because they were all getting it wrong and it was just being lazy. If they did that last year, none of that stuff would matter. That's the whole reason why I even started live streaming, was because I was seeing them get so much stuff wrong. And this was before we had somebody like Shedeur on the team. So just think about how bad it was, because you didn't have other people there with you to be able to call it out in real time. So shout out to GBush for, provoking that thought and just taking it a step further and just highlighting the fact that, Shedeur Sanders is like thunder and lightning. And once he's here, you realize the infrastructure is bad, and it's going to bring opportunities for new people to step up. Really similar to how I view Stephen A. Smith. Yeah, you cover the NBA, you cover all these games, but if the NBA Finals game, you can't, keep your eye on the game and watch the game because you watch it so much, move out the way and let somebody else who will relish in that opportunity and in that moment cover it. So that's the opportunity we have now, and now people have free will. They can choose who they want to watch, who they don't want to watch. But I thought that was a great take by GBush, and he opened up opportunity for a great conversation. All right, let's keep this thing moving along. Now, we had Coach Prime. It's so good to see Coach Prime back out in front of us. We know he had a health situation that we don't exactly know what it was, but we're just happy that he's back. So definitely happy to see Coach Prime back. He was at the Big 12 Media Day, and he said this.
Week and yesterday, Deion Sanders had a lot to say about the landscape of college football and the way schools pay their players.
I wish it was a cap. Like the top of the line player makes this, and if you're not that type of guy, you're not going to make that. That's what the NFL does. So the problem is you got a guy that's not that darn good, but he could go to another school and they give him $500,000. And you can't compete with that. That don't make sense. All you have to do is look at the playoffs and see what those teams spent. And you understand darn near why they're in the playoffs. It's kind of hard to compete with somebody who's giving $25, $30 million to a darn freshman class.
So that's what Coach Prime said. And he's actually been saying this for a while, that he believes there needs to be a salary cap in place. And also he believes that guys need to sign binding contracts so they can't just take the NIL money and bounce around every single year. Those are great guidelines that I think should be put in place so they can kind of get this thing under control. Also, I think that, you know, them being able to opt out should happen after the bowl games, not during bowl season. So it's just some changes that need to happen to make the game better. And for some reason, people think that he said something different, which I don't know how they think it's something different, but let's go. If you don't have a hater like Paul Finebaum, then you're not doing a great job.
All right, we've got Paul Finebaum, Kevin Clark joining us here for this one as well. Paul, obviously, he's talking about the NFL model. Very different than the college football model, even with the House settlement going through recently. But do you agree with Dion, just off the top, that college football should have a salary cap?
In a perfect world, of course I agree, but we don't live in a perfect.
So I usually don't like to pause it that early into what somebody is saying. So remember, in a perfect world, he agrees. So everything after this, it's just gonna be some BS. So y'all gonna hear it. That's what it's gonna be. I'm warning y'all. I'm letting y'all know.
Perfect world in college football, which is one reason it makes it so bizarrely interesting. And I find it just a tad bit interesting and maybe a slight bit hypocritical that Deion Sanders, after his two great players, I mean, we're not just talking about good players in terms of Travis Hunter, one of the best players in modern college football history. As they depart, suddenly Deion wants a cap. Can you imagine what Travis Hunter would have been worth, and would Deion have been in favor of a cap then? Of course not. So Deion is simply trying to...
We got to hit him with the buzzer. We hit him with that buzzer because we know that Shedeur Sanders didn't take any money from the NIL collective. His was actually true endorsements. So this is where people get it wrong, and that's why I stopped him so early on, because we knew he was going to get it wrong when he said in a perfect world he agrees, but then he went on to say something else. When a person sets that up like, I don't mean to be disrespectful, they're going to say something disrespectful. I don't mean to. That's exactly what you mean to do. You're just trying to lighten the blow of what you're doing. And that's why he said, oh, hey, come on, man. We know better. We know better. So that's why I say get you a hater like Paul Finebaum.
Tell the media, hey, let's talk about something other than my football team, which is going to be painfully boring and perhaps even mediocre this year.
Kevin?
We got him with the buzzer again because he did this exact same thing last year. Last year, before the college football season started, Paul Finebaum said, we're not even going to be talking about Colorado. Colorado's going to win 4 games. He had to eat his words, and he had to talk about Colorado every single week as they actually made it to a bowl game. So that's why I say get you a hitter who hates you as much as Paul Finebaum hates on Coach Prime. So he off base. His first take was off base, and what he said was off base. So we don't have to go, like, when a person shows that they agree with you, but they're disagreeing with you just for the sake of what they're talking about, I don't need to hear a lot of what you say. Of course, I watched more of this when I was prepping for the show, but I don't need to hear more from Paul Finebaum because he already missed the point. He didn't attack anything that Coach Prime said, where he said basically, oh, they shouldn't be able to give a guy $500,000 who hasn't done anything in college to pull him from a team. That's what he said. Did he address that? No. He just did the perfect world scenario and then disagreed after that, which really means he disagreed the whole time anyway. So he just jumped past it. That's Paul Finebaum. These are the second stringers on First Take, and these are the ones who are talking about these hypothetical things. You haven't heard anything about college football until Coach Prime came out and talking. So that just shows you that certain people, you know whose name they want to use, and they want to use Coach Prime's name to, you know, get the views back out there. Because this is the thing. It's going to be people. I'm even going to tell y'all. So, Skip Bayless. When I'm putting my shows together, Skip Bayless says things, and I'm like, he has to be saying this for attention, clicks, and views. And you know what I do? I just eliminate it from my show. And if you notice, I haven't used Skip Bayless for any clips or anything on any of my shows because I know the game he's playing and I just disagree with it. So when you have people like that, if they think everything that Coach Prime is doing is wrong, they would never talk about Coach Prime. But they want the clicks. They got to get the clicks. They're doing it for clout. Let's move this thing along. So now we're gonna get back to the NBA. Podcast P, man, oh man, he had a very legendary. I use legendary too much. He had a very great interview and sit down with Jim Jackson, who went to Ohio State, 4th overall pick in 1992 NBA draft. Let's speed this up a little bit. But Jim Jackson has some great insight. He played for a bunch of teams, but a lot of that is because he was willing to attack the NBA. And he's going to even talk about how he had a lawsuit on the line for collusion with the NBA. It's funny. Now with all the NFL collusion stuff, we hear it's been going on in the NBA too. Surprise, surprise. Let me rant for a second. I almost did this show on how the media has helped the billionaires be more protected and to shame all the millionaire athletes. And I was like, nah, we don't got to go in on it. But I was really close to because, you know, we had the NFL collusion thing come out. We had this Jim Jackson talking about the NBA collusion thing. I actually went and found articles at the time of him suing the NBA. So we also looked at free agency and we look at college football and we look at recruiting. And all the people with the big money are the ones who get protected. And then the shame is always on the players. I was looking at the LeBron situation. Lakers just sold for $10 billion and Bron opts into $52 million. People are shaming Bron. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. So I almost did a show on that, but we had some other topics come up that I thought was great to talk about. But it's backwards how people defend the billionaires and then shame the millionaires. It's crazy. So let me get off my horse. Let's get back to it. That's my TED Talk. So this is Podcast P, fair use to all the videos I'm using today. This is going to be Jim Jackson speaking on why he held out and speaking on his holdout when he got drafted by Dallas Mavericks.
Of your holdout, right? And this was at a time there was no rookie scale.
Yep.
And so, you know, you basically were given or kind of negotiating with what the team thought was your worth. You gave a little insight about how that was, but from when you finally got a chance to get back into the game, you played 28 games, you said. How awkward was that situation going back into the locker room now after being drafted and then you're coming in later into the season?
Well, it's funny because I never got a chance to be in Dallas, period. I got the press conference after I got drafted, and Donald Carter was the owner at the time. Norm Sandry was the general manager. But after that, I was back in Columbus, back in Ohio, training. So as we got closer to trying to get the deal done, nothing was getting done. So I was doing I never was there. So I never established a relationship with any of the players, the coaches, or anything. So basically, I'm running 5-on-5 at home, just trying to stay in shape. Huh? But here's the thing that I learned, man, about that time. And it was hard. It was extremely difficult because I'm 22 at the time, and your dream is to go play in the NBA. Okay, it's right there at your fingertips. The line is right there, but I can't get to the line. I'm close to I can't get over it because but I had to make a decision. And my agent was really good, Mark Termini, was really good. I said, Jimmy, here is what's going on. Here's how it will affect you if you sign the deal they want down the line. Not this today, but how it affects you down the line and how it affects next year's 4th pick, which was Jamal Mashburn, because the market is thrown off. So I'm going to give you all these scenarios, but ultimately you got to be comfortable with what's going on because they can come at me as an agent, but they going to come at you as a player. Are you going to be able? I said, man, I can handle it. I can handle the criticism. I can handle all the negative comments because I know I'm right. And if I know I'm right, I know I'm not trying to take advantage of the situation, I can sleep at night. So, bro, now, here's the caveat. The reason why I came in game 28 is because I was about to have a lawsuit against the NBA. So it's deep because there's a word called collusion. And what happened was at the time we found out that David Stern had talked to these owners about paying rookies these high, big term contracts. You can't tell an owner what to pay. So we got wind of it.
Yeah.
Because there were some trade scenarios in which Dallas could have traded.
Y'all hear that? Y'all hear that collusion word? This goes always back to the early 90s. So when people want to defend these billionaire owners and attack the players, look at what they were doing then. When he gets to the end of this story about how he actually ends up playing, you're going to hear that the scenario hasn't changed that much. People just want to always attack the player and say, "Oh, you should be glad to be here." Look what's happened in Cincinnati. Cincinnati don't want to play Trey Hendrickson, and he's been producing. Pittsburgh Steelers don't want to play T.J. Watt after he's been producing. Cincinnati Bengals are trying to change the language in the contract from the 17th, I believe it's the 17th overall pick. I think his name is Shamar Stewart. They want to change the language in his contract going forward. He's taking the same stand that Jim Jackson took in 1992 by not screwing over people going forward that are coming after him. So this stuff has always been going on. Look at the holdup on second round picks. So I believe the first 3 picks of the second round got guaranteed deals. So what happens? The 4th pick of the second round want a guaranteed deal too. That's the holdup. You got so many second round picks who are not signed to contracts yet because they're holding out for the guaranteed money. So this is something that's always going to happen. It's always going to be people. The difference is you have way more people who are the second round that none of them are going and just saying we're going to take less. And the power that they, let's say leverage, the leverage that these players have now is coming out of college because of NIL, they got some money in their pocket. So they're not just signing just to sign and then setting people back that's coming after them. It's almost like the second round, all the second round draft picks on the same accord, like we all getting guarantees. Because it's a trickle down effect. Because if you let the couple guys before you get guaranteed deals and then you the one that breaks and don't get the guaranteed deal, it stops at you and everybody after you is stuck. So they holding the line. Let's get back to it.
Then they didn't. So we got wind of it, went to the Players Association and said, we want to file this lawsuit against the NBA. So my deal at the time would have been, I got an offer from Cleveland, I think it was 6 years, 21, okay? If I won my lawsuit, Mavericks would owe me double. What do you think happened? I signed.
Yeah.
I signed.
So did they?
So I looked into this. This is an article from February 28th, 1993. All right, so Jim Jackson originally was the 4th player taken in the 1992 draft. He was offered a 5-year, $13.7 million contract. Shortly after Carter returned to the Board of Governors meeting, the club lowered his offer to 4 years, $10.4 million. The final offer was 4 for $10.8 million. That would have paid Jackson $7 million this season. The problem was the pick that was taken directly before Jim Jackson was Christian Laettner, and he got 6 years, $21 million. So they wanted him to take half of what the pick prior to him got, and they want to give him less years. So he's not lying about that. Let's get back to it.
They match it?
No. So they just came in with my original market rate, which was 7 years, 21, right under
for the 4th
right under for the 4th pick. Okay.
Got it. Okay.
So I got all my money in 28 games. See, this is why I tell people to be careful when you hear stuff in the news, like your negotiations. You know this firsthand with the Clippers. Things that were being said were sometimes not actually what the conversation in that room was. So you got to be very careful when you regurgitate information that people are saying, because you don't know those intimate conversations that I had in the room with ownership. That in the public's eyes, they said, well, no, you got offered the Lakers. Why you didn't? None of that stuff happened. But I knew inside what happened. Nobody knew about the lawsuit. Then I finally signed, and I'm with the Mavericks, and Quinn Buckner is there. And
all right, so I just got to jump in here. I've been itching at jumping in right here. So what he's saying is so true. So he's just saying people regurgitate things that they weren't in the room to actually hear. We saw that with Shedeur Sanders. We saw a lot of people regurgitate things that they say happened in these pre-draft interview rooms, and they just ran with it. Now, the last thing we're hearing people repeat is Shador is having problems with the cadence of calling plays. And you know what? Some people that play the NFL said the plays don't change from if you're the third and fourth string to if you're the first and second string. So if he can call the plays with third and fourth string, he can call the plays with first and second string. So you see how people are just regurgitating things that they don't understand? They are not, if they are at Browns training camp, they are not running different playbooks. They're running one playbook. If this is 24Z right slot 21 or something like that on 2, they running that with second string, first string, third string. They all running the same thing. So a lot of people just been running, people repeating these things that just don't make sense. They're regurgitating, just like you just said. Oh, you got offered this, you got offered this, you got offered this. He said, no, I was in the room. None of that stuff was true. So when people just run with whatever they hear people saying because they think it sounds good, that's when people get fooled. And me, I'm one of the people, I just question everything. So I'm not really just in the business of just repeating what people are saying. So let's let them keep cooking.
Management is there, and everybody's patting you on the back, and we're so happy to have you. Man, what do you think I'm thinking? Real talk.
Right.
I'm in my mind, I'm like, man, I'll still be at home if I didn't have this lawsuit.
Right.
That's crazy.
So think about it. So now going into it, I have no training camp, no nothing. You know the first game we played against? Defending champs was the Houston Rockets. It was Akeem. It was Vernon Maxwell. It was Kenny Smith. It was my boy Sam Cassell. It was Robert Horry. That was my first game.
Yeah.
I had like 2 or 3 days of practice.
Right.
Played, had signs in there, some boos, some cheers. Next game I played. We had 2 games at home. Phoenix Suns, Charles Barkley. We got Dan Marley. We got Kevin Johnson. Those are my first 2 introductory games in the league.
Awesome.
I did better from game to game. I'll tell you that, though. But it was the surreal moment was this. I don't know what it was like for you the first time you got on the court. At least you got a chance to go through training camp, then go through preseason, and then play your first game. I ain't had none of that. I go from practice to put on a Mavericks uniform to walking out to boos and some cheers, playing against those guys. I mean, you talking about a head rush?
Yeah.
But I think my maturity at the time helped me handle what was coming at me. Because at the end of the day, once you get settled in, it's just basketball.
Right.
At the end of the day, even though I didn't have camp, you figure it out. And I got a chance to figure it out my rookie year. I mean, I averaged 17 points a game, and I had no training camp, had no nothing.
Y'all hear that? 17 points a game, no training camp, came right in, finished last 28 games as a rookie, got all his money, held his ground. So you got to question these narratives that people just put out there, because what I did was I showed y'all early on that if they don't create the narrative, they don't care about the story. That Jalen Williams story should be big. AD playing through that injury, coming back playing through that should be a big story. Nobody's talking about it. They want to talk about all this make-believe stuff when it comes to LeBron contract. You got to see through it and you got to question it. So let's see. It's another part of this interview that I really want to get to. Let me find it. And shout out to Podcast P for actually having timestamps in here. So let's see. So he was on the Lakers. I believe it was 2006 when they were playing the Phoenix Suns in 7-game series. And it's hard to find this game footage. I've been looking for it. It's really hard to find. So he is going to break down from a player's perspective how they felt about Kobe not shooting in that second half. So let's get to it. This is it right here.
Yeah. So you finished that season with a loss to Phoenix in a Game 7, right? You guys up 3-1, lose a Game 7. But that Game 7 wasn't no regular Game 7, especially for a guy like Kobe. Talk to us a little bit about what was kind of going on, because Game 7, Kobe, him not being aggressive, that's never in the same category.
He didn't shoot the
Exactly. What was kind of from your outside perspective, or maybe you knew kind of what was going on in the.
So I hit the wrong button there, but this is one of those situations where you got to ask yourself, if it's any other player who did this, what they're going to say Kobe did, and Kobe has already acknowledged that he did in Game 7 of the playoffs, after being up 3-1 and losing that 3-1 lead, how would the media speak on this person? You got to ask yourself that question. It's a very hard question to ask yourself, but when I put out Kobe clips, this is what I hear. That's all the people responding to everything I say. They just ready. They just out clicking, typing. And a lot of times they just missing exactly what happened. So Kobe said there was a bad spot for him. He wouldn't handle that game like that again. For some reason, I was going to talk about this early in the summer. I don't know why I never ended up getting to it, but I started doing the research on it, and that's how I know they buried them tapes. It's so hard to find that second half of that Game 7. But he's going to break it down. But I would just like to present y'all with the question. If LeBron James didn't shoot second half of a Game 7 in a series where he was up 3-1, what would the media say? If Steph Curry didn't shoot second half of a Game 7, he was up 3-1, what would the media say? Kevin Durant doesn't shoot second half of a Game 7 where he's up 3-1, what would the media say? Now, a lot of people are just going to say this is Kobe disrespect. This is not Kobe disrespect. This is pointing out something that actually happened. Kobe acknowledged that it happened, said he wouldn't treat the game that way again moving forward. And then this is somebody who was on his team as it's happening who's going to give us some insight. So are we going to believe the people who weren't there, or are we going to believe the people who was there? I said this earlier in the summer. I said, how can we question the people who are actually in these situations, and we're going to put the people who write about the situations, give them more credence to what they're saying? So, Kobe fans, y'all not going to like to hear this, but we got to play it.
The thick of things, what Kobe mindset was in that situation. Because it had to be weird, like, Kobe, shoot the fucking ball. Like, what do you?
But you got to back up because when I was with Phoenix earlier that year and came to the Lakers. So we go up 3-1. I'm talking to my boys in Phoenix. You know, I'm like, exit first round, right? So it's Game 5. So Game 5 is in Phoenix. And I tell the guy, I said, listen, man, we got to win Game 5, okay? Because we got to get this series over with. And Smush Park had done a phenomenal job in the first 4 games on Steve Nash. Just into him. Because the whole game plan was to make Steve work and not help as much to give up those threes, right? And it was working. Smush was all up into him. Smush was long, athletic. But then some things changed where Smush started to get outside of his game and things started to change. And LO was on the team at the time. And surprisingly to me, Brian Shaw was assistant coach on the team with us, with the Clippers. Phil and them let him kind of get away with it. Kobe was pissed. That's what.
So, this is the start of his answer. People always say, oh man, Phil Jackson, one of the greatest coaches of all times. People don't talk about the blemishes. We always talk about Doc giving up 3-1 leads. Y'all not going to talk about Phil Jackson giving up this 3-1 lead? Y'all not going to talk about players looking side-eye at Phil Jackson because he's not saying stuff to role players? People knock these current coaches and say they don't say nothing to stars. He was letting the role players get away with this. Look at how once Phil Jackson wasn't coaching Michael Jordan and he wasn't coaching Kobe and Shaq, what did he do when he went to New York? He blew that team up. Eventually, Phil Jackson just had to disappear from the NBA. Why? I always say, a lot of times, people don't want to look at the people who should be looked at when things go bad. We only talk about Kobe in this situation. Nobody mentions Phil Jackson. You know why? Because nobody had true insight. How come the media, who's so in tune, how come we never heard this side of the story? Why did it take player-driven media to get this side of the story out? How come the media, who's in the locker rooms, who's there traveling with the team, beat writers, why we didn't get this side of the story? Are they as connected as they want y'all to believe? I'm going to say no. Hey, let's let them cook.
Really got
Okay,
Kobe
that's
mad.
what sparked it.
Was watching that we up 3-1. So we get back game 6. I'm like, bruh, we can't go back game 7 to Phoenix. Cancel Christmas if we do.
Mm-hmm.
Man, Kobe hit this, you know, bro, we go back game 7. Aaron McKee was on the team. And ironically, here's the thing. We noticed it, but we didn't notice it in the fourth quarter because we getting drilled too.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a culmination of a couple of things leading up to that fourth quarter to why Kobe felt like that, because guys got outside of their parameters of who they were and why we were up 3-1, and nothing was being done about it. So I think Kobe at that time, and I don't want to talk for him, was proving a point.
Yeah.
Like, you got to take this and you got to get on this and stop the bleeding early.
Mm-hmm.
And I was surprised that Phil let it fester just based on who I thought Phil was as a coach, that would be.
Hey, it's going to be shocking for y'all. A lot of people, they want to put stuff on Kobe. They want to say, oh, Kobe used to bully Smush Parker. Y'all getting some insight. Y'all hearing some other sides of this. Is it making sense why he go at Smush Parker like that now? Smush Parker, he's supposed to be a high energy guy that we need to defend. You're not supposed to be out here calling 1-4 flat and ISOing. That ain't your role on this team. Phil Jackson, you gonna let them blow this. People only talk about Kobe when this game 7. That's why I said, hey, the Kobe fans, y'all ain't gonna like this because it's gonna bring out a little bit about Kobe. But who this is really exposing is Phil Jackson. This is exposing Phil Jackson losing the rope. He lost the rope. He lost his grip. He lost his handle. And it's happening right in front of him. So you got the vets looking at like, what are you doing? How can you coach the star players if you can't get the role players in line? You can't get the role players in order. Okay.
Be cut off right away.
Yeah.
But that's what I think led up to it, because Aaron McKee and I were sitting there on the bench like we didn't realize it at first. And then we was like, hold up. Dude he ain't shooting, he ain't even looking.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because before you knew it, the game was over and you look at the stat sheet, he ain't shooting before. We're like, but in real time, you didn't realize it because the game was going, but then you knew something was off, like Kobe ain't really being aggressive. This ain't game 7. But I think it was just my opinion, proving the point to the coaching staff.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was what was so crazy about it. It wasn't like he was getting trapped and doubled and the ball had to get out his hands. He was invitingly swinging it. Like,
yeah, no. He was like, oh, you think you can win it? You think you can do this? Go ahead.
Yep.
That's what I think more of it was that aspect of it. Yeah, bro.
That's crazy.
Yeah, crazy. I was like, moving people, come get my stuff, man. I'm heading back.
Yeah.
So we got that great insight on how you can look at a situation and initially you can just blame Kobe, but not realizing that there were other decisions that went into that. So this actually just sparked something in my mind that I want to talk about. Let's see. But let me pull this up. This is actually going back to something with Kevin Stefanski. So let me swap this out. Let's go here. All right. So this just sparked the thought in my mind. So at the end of last year, I remember the Cleveland Browns season, and I remember saying that to me it seemed like Kevin Stefanski was saying, we're going to do everything that y'all called for, and then if it doesn't work, I don't want to hear it. So if you remember, We brought in somebody who was supposed to be better at the spread. Our run game suffered. Everybody talk about Kevin Stefanski not being a play caller. He gave it up. Everybody said, oh, Jameis Winston came here to run his offense. But it's a point where Jameis Winston, it was on a 4th and 1, and it seems like we were supposed to just run like a QB sneak and Jameis Winston hand the ball off. I'm pretty sure it's against Baltimore, and we ended up getting stopped, and it looked like Jameis changed the play. And I think at that moment, Kevin Stefanski, like, I'm not calling plays for him. Then everybody's calling for Deshaun Watson not to start. Deshaun Watson didn't start no more. So everything happened. And now you see this year, Kevin Stefanski came right out and said he's calling plays again. They're going to get to what made them great. The O-line is going to be back more comfortable with doing what they want to do. And it's situations like that where you see sometimes we point the blame to the wrong people. And I remember Earl of UCSS was saying, oh, it's petty. I remember Tyvis saying it was petty for it because they were like, it seemed like Kevin Stefanski just said, I'm going to let this thing burn. Sometimes you have to show people that what you think is better is not what's best. So I said this last year for the Cleveland Browns, they got everything they wanted. I think it was around about week 6 or 7. Everything they wanted to happen. Deshaun wasn't the starter. Kevin Stefanski wasn't calling plays. Jameis Winston was starting. They got everything they wanted. And then what happened? Worse results. That's similar to what Jim Jackson just was saying. The role players thought they were stars and thought they were the reason why that they were going to win. And when the pressure got tight, they couldn't take the pressure of being a star. And that was because Phil Jackson wasn't holding them accountable like they felt he should. So the Kobe people, don't be mad at me for bringing it up. Understand that I'm showing the other side of it so people can see that it seems like Phil Jackson was the one who started to drop the ball first. Hopefully y'all got that from that. But I thought that was just a great breakdown of when I was watching this and I was listening to it, I was like, man, he has some great insight on how he's breaking this thing down. Great insight. So, and that made me think of Kevin Stefanski, but now let's go back. Let's take you down and go here. Whoops, there we go. All right, so we're going to go back here, and we're going to get to the next. Whoops, I don't want no sound to be playing in your ear. We'll get to the next story. So this is like, I always say like the main event. The main event topics of, this is going to be the main event topics of the show. So this is what you came here for. This is the thumbnail, you know, all the reason why you clicked on this and said, let me see what he got to say today. So I've been saying Kobe so many times. Man, let me hold that in. LeBron James decided to opt into his contract, securing a no-trade clause, and him receiving this $52 million pay, which he's not even close to the highest paid player in the league. Now, a lot of people got this wrong instantly, and I couldn't understand how they were missing this happening right in front of their faces. I'm like, how are you not understanding what's going on here? So this is Low. A lot of times, man, I'll be in tune with Low, and I'm like, this makes sense. But this is a time where I'm not agreeing with him. And it's just like, I think it's more of a lack of understanding than it is me really having a true disagreement with him. So let's go.
Moving LeBron's 52 will put LA roughly 16 million-ish below the cap. Oh, wow. Oh, man. We could have had that flexibility, but LeBron said, y'all. So for the people
let's let it keep
out there
going.
who are wondering about how I feel about the Lakers and the situation they're in right now, LeBron, et cetera, et cetera. I said this on Twitter when it happened. And matter of fact, let me go find my tweet because I tried to explain to you all. When LeBron signed his contract extension, it put the Lakers at a significant disadvantage. A significant disadvantage. And everybody...
That's going to be an L. That's not what happened. And he's going to get somebody's going to give him a mulligan and explaining this to him. And he's still not going to take it. He just said, oh, if LeBron opts out, they get $16 million. Think about what you're saying. So you were saying that you're going to sign LeBron and another player for $16 million if LeBron opts out. I don't think he's realizing that. He's assuming that somehow somehow the Lakers sign LeBron and they also have the $16 million. That's not what happens because the Lakers are in the luxury tax. The easy thing to do would be look at the roster, see who we have signed, and look at the contracts and say, do they match what we get from these players? Look at Jared Vanderbilt's contract. Look at something like that and say, does it match? But no, people just want to blame LeBron and then be wrong about it. So let's let Lo cook.
Everyone was sitting there telling me, oh, Lo, oh my God, limits. He's limited for whatever reason. And I don't understand this at all. When people criticize anything that LeBron does or questions it or may have negative terms to it, people automatically think that, like, you're the worst person in the world. I'm going to tell y'all niggas right now as I get into this, I don't give a about anything you guys got to say because I'm not a LeBron fan, nigga. I'm a Laker fan. So let's get that out of the way. But B, I also acknowledge that it really wasn't much on the table for really either side to do because both of them are trying to go in the best of their interests, right? So let's date it back.
See, that doesn't work because you're speaking out of both sides. So the first thing, you started this thing off by saying, oh, LeBron, they could have got $16 million, but they will be losing LeBron. How you going to replace LeBron's value for $16 million? So that was an L. Now you're saying, oh, because you say something bad about LeBron, you know, oh, I'm not a Bron fan, I'm a Lakers fan. You're just wrong. That's all it is. Your take could be, the true take is the Lakers cap situation is trash right now. That's the truth. That's what it should be. But that's not what it is. It's all LeBron put you in this situation. No, he didn't. Look at the contracts they got in the books. It's not LeBron. Why do they keep signing players from the Miami Heat guards? When guards leave the Miami Heat, they done. They did this when they signed Dunn. He was done. They did this when they signed Gabe Vincent. Done. Stop signing guards coming from the Miami Heat. They saw Jared Vanderbilt wasn't comfortable shooting the corner three, and then they re-signed him. Look at those signings. Those are the things that kind of put their cap space in a bad spot. Not LeBron opting in, because find LeBron's value and find upgrades for the team with $16 million, because that's what you would have to do if LeBron opted out. You would have to replace his value. Find 25 points a game, as efficient as LeBron is, and what you get with him on the court for $16 million. You're not going to find it. Their cap situation is bad. He didn't mess up their cap situation.
Back to last year when the Lakers decided to trade for Anthony Davis. I believe, as well as what I understand, the reason why they did this, and I think I said this as well, is because there weren't really that many more options out there to see significant improvements this year. Significant improvements of the roster the way it was currently constructed. The idea of going after the five that Anthony Davis wanted, including myself, I wanted as well, that player really wasn't available. Everybody was like, Miles, and Miles Turner was not made available to the rest of the league because how much the Patriots had turned their season around, which then forced the Lakers to make a very tough decision. If we cannot improve this roster, knowing that we may effectively only have this year and next year of LeBron, then what do we need to do? And I think they made the best and most sound, logical decision, and that is prepare for post-LeBron and get Luka to the table. That makes sense. That makes sense. There was a bunch of chatter. Oh, LeBron knew, even though none of it made any sense for LeBron to know, because effectively.
All right, I don't know where we're going. This is only supposed to be about your LeBron take. You kind of going into some other stuff that it's not relevant to your LeBron point.
With what they wanted to accomplish. That's very important to acknowledge, because that then begs the question, well, what exactly was LeBron supposed to do? LeBron doesn't really have that many options either. So when y'all sit here and tell me, oh my gosh, you want him to take a pay cut? No, I never said he had to take a pay cut. He could have opted out, though, and then opted back in. But if he took that option, let's go through LeBron's options for a second. Okay, LeBron opts in like he just did right now. He opts in. Cool. Boom. Bada bing, bada bang. Matter of fact, let me read this real quick. Losing LeBron would not free up any significant spending power of the Lakers. Just an FYI, because some seem to be confused on this. Lakers payroll next year projected to be about $190. Salary cap is $154. Removing LeBron $52 would put the Lakers only $16 million below the cap to spend. And the room exception once the cap space is just used under $9 million. $16 million is a lot. Even $9 million a year is a lot. I don't know what.
That's LeBron coming fully off the books. That's one thing I think he's missing. Even when he just read that and got the breakdown, LeBron coming off the book with $16 million. How do you replace LeBron's, what he brings to the table, and upgrade the roster for $16 million? That's what you're missing. That's the crux of this whole thing.
But only 16 million. I don't know what the fuck are we talking about. Okay. $16 million a year, that's a good money. I don't know what we're talking about. For role players too. And not like we're asking for a third.
$16 million, you're losing LeBron though. So how do you replace LeBron's productivity for $16 million a year and upgrade the team? How are you missing that? That's an easy thing. That's very clear. Like this is when I was watching this, I couldn't understand why Nick Wright was so frustrated. But this is a reason. I watched this on fast speed, but this is the first time I watched it slow, where I'm actually hearing all of it, and I'm like, how are you missing this? You are way too smart to be missing this.
A third star. But here's a problem. So let's go through all of the options here. LeBron opts out and take a pay cut. Okay, he opts out. Then what? He comes back to the Lakers and says, okay, I want to opt out. I'm gonna get roughly around the same amount of money I made, but I'm gonna take a little bit of pay cut. As they just said, there really wouldn't be a significant amount of pay cut that he would take, because that still would not have given them significant wiggle room. So you take a pay cut, 16 million goes from 18, 20 million. Not a significant difference from where we are already at right now. So that.
No, that was factually incorrect. If LeBron didn't come back, they would get the full 16 million. If he came back at any number, it wouldn't be 16 million. So that point was wrong. Let's see your next
option number one. Option number two, LeBron opts out, hoping to opt back in, and the Lakers say, you know what? No, we're not going to pay you for $50-some million. We're not going to pay you for 48, 46, 45 million. No. Actually, no, we're not going to pay you that much. We're going to give you around low 40.
Opt out and opt back in. If you opt out of the contract, you're a free agent. It's no opting back into the free agent contract. I think this is just him kind of mistaking his words here, because there's no opt out then opt back in. It's you opt out and you can re-sign with the team. It's not opt out and I'm back in. So I'm gonna chalk this one up too. I think he made a mistake on the words he used here. So
40s to high 30s, so we can make ourselves as financially flexible as possible to give us as many options as possible, because we were already looking to do that anyway when we traded Anthony Davis. So no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to pay you that much. And you know what? Since you opted out and you want another contract, you know what else we're going to do? You know what else we're going to do? No to the no trade clause. Whenever we deem it necessary to trade you, fuck it, we'll trade you.
This is not making sense. The first part was just wrong. This one is just not making sense. This is not making sense.
Now, some of you may be sitting here saying, I see somebody in the chat, this is so redacted. No, it's not. It actually makes a lot of sense. LeBron opts out. He comes back. He demands $50 million. Okay? Go get it somewhere. Where's a team that you want to go to that can contend, that has the capability of paying you $50? Name them.
If you have $52 million guaranteed on the table with the no trade clause, why would you opt out of that? The whole premise of this is just wrong. Why would you opt out of that? We know the teams. The only team that could have signed him for that amount was the Brooklyn Nets. So it was never going to be a point where he was going to opt out. So you just cut that right away. He was never going to opt out. So this is a whole bunch of nothing right here, which Low usually be on point. This is kind of one of those first times where I'm like, how am I disagreeing with him so much? But I'm disagreeing a lot.
Name them. OKC does it. You think Philly has the capability of signing him to 50? You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You don't know. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
It's only Brooklyn.
Oh, somebody said, bingo, sign and trade. You're right. It would be a sign and trade. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, he gets sign and trade to Cleveland. And in the process of signing and trading to Cleveland, let's.
We don't even have to go through this. He can't get signed and trade to Cleveland. Cleveland's in his second apron. Cleveland will have to add multiple teams in to be able to do this trade. It just don't make sense. Like you got to know all the players of the game who you're talking about before you get this deep into it, because these hypotheticals wouldn't work. They wouldn't work. And this is what I'm saying. Like, people spend so much time talking about maybe LeBron going back to Cleveland. It was never going to be a sign and trade back to Cleveland. They will have to blow up the team effectively, move 6 guys out to get LeBron back because of the luxury tax situation they have. So I'm trying to wait to his third point. I'm trying to get there, y'all.
let's do the math here on this one. If you want to get paid the 50 and you want to go, let's say, back to your hometown, Cleveland, what would the trade have to look like to get that deal done? You will probably have to throw in Jared Allen, who's making 20, and another 23 for DeAndre Hunter, because you will be taking his starting position, and maybe another flexible contract here and there to get your 50. If you're the Lakers, you're like, you know what? Okay. Hey.
I'm trying to get to this third point, but that don't make sense just due to Cleveland's financial situation. This is kind of part of the reason why I don't debate with people, because people want to debate and all of it is hypothetical. None of it can realistically happen. And then you just go down these rabbit holes of nothingness. And that's kind of where we at. So I'm trying to get to his third point.
You got it. Hey, we're already preparing beyond you anyway. If we can get the big that we want in a 3-and-D wing on the perimeter, hey, do it. Go find it. Go do that. Actually, you know what? Go do that for us. Go find someone that will trade for you. Go do that so we can fill out the rest of our roster. Oh my word. Out of all the times in which we could have gotten Brook Lopez, we get the worst version of himself. He's a shell of himself. Free agent center Brook Lopez. To the Clippers. Oh, I was about to say, oh boy, that right there would have.
All right, so yeah, Lojas, he was all the way off. Somebody actually said in his comments here. Here goes comments. Okay, somebody said it. Chat was cooking low for this take, and rightfully so. LeBron opting out would do virtually nothing for the team but make it worse. You're not going to improve with 14 M's when you have as many holes as the Lakers do. Bad take from Low. Okay, yeah, I was waiting for it, and I was like, man, this take is not. None of this is making sense. Let's go to the next bad LeBron take. And the bad LeBron takes, man, when it's not much to talk about that, they just flow like water.
And will the Lakers do right by LeBron, or will this season get nasty?
What do you mean do right by him? What does that mean?
Let him end his Laker tenure prestigiously. Will LeBron be on the Lakers this season?
What else?
Will Bronny be on the Lakers this season?
What happened? What did I miss?
Oh, Garland. Garland in the 5-man.
You like the song? No. Nah, you can't get up.
Don't like the song.
No, like it. You already got the 5.
Waiting for that.
I think this is going to be McCants. McCants is going to be the one who's bringing up LeBron, screwing over. But let's get to
it's a good thing to wait for.
Money.
You gotta be
Shot, Lakers fan.
What did I miss?
Will the Lakers do right by LeBron, or will this season get nasty?
What does that mean, do right?
Year 23 brought a championship.
Do you do right by me? You talking about the color purple do right by? You with the fingers? Are you talking about that do right by me? Yo, you talking about that? Do right by me?
You put the 2 fingers on.
2 fingers on a nigga, it's over.
You mean business.
You see, that's Cobra Claws.
Like that report. Mr. Johnson, Mr. Johnson,
Mr. Johnson,
Mr. Johnson.
Get your ass out of here. Mr. Johnson, Mr. Johnson. I hate y'all. I know that. Yeah, what is do right by? I don't understand what that means.
Do right. Last season with the Lakers potentially. Brian Wimber said he was digging around.
I mean, he did bring a championship here.
He said they're treating him as an expiring contract. Shifting over the 2 timelines, Brian has said that he wanted to be on a championship-level team roster. Lakers appear to be making some moves in that. Jake LaRavia may not be as bad of a pickup as we first assumed.
So can we explain to the people what are the potential options for the Lakers with him picking up that?
So basically, I mean, it's final year of his deal. So at this point,
So here we go.
Once that
Now
deal
we get to
expires, see
hear
you
it.
later.
And he goes back into like unrestricted free agency?
An unrestricted free agent.
Is that the same thing that happened when he was in Cleveland?
I think it's the first time he's ever been in the final year of his deal.
So when he went into free agency, they signed it. It was a sign and trade, right?
Sign and trade.
He was going into restricted free agency?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is different now.
Yeah, he's 42.
So now he picked up the option for the first time?
Yep.
So people still don't know what that means. When he picks up the option, what can the Lakers do? What does that mean? Why is that a bad thing?
Well, he still has all the power because he has a no trade clause.
Right.
He's in the last year of this deal. Ultimately, you can't trade me unless I approve of it. So, but if I do say, hey, holler back and take my son with me.
Right, so that's everything's still in his hands.
To an extent. For literally the next like 360 days.
Right. So the whole year. So what are we talking about? Is do right by? Is that farewell tour? Do right by? Like what? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Deliver a competitive team that actually has the potential to win a championship.
Oh, without the pay cut.
While also catering to
Without the pay cut.
That's crazy.
Second team All NBA selection of this past.
I would believe it if he would have took the pay cut, but it just seems weird that we can't make no real moves. We got to pay you this bread.
You don't need no more moves.
Like Smokey's mother told him.
No, but wait. You know what?
So even though these guys been in the NBA, they've seen NBA contracts before, it's still they're missing an understanding of what could actually be done. And this is why sometimes when you do all these shows a week and you just try to hit the topic as they come up with no research, somebody should have just told them, hey, it ain't much the Lakers could do. Somebody should have told them that. It's nobody there to tell them that basically, that it wouldn't help. So that's an L on their part. It took a long time to get there, but just a lack of understanding of the salary cap is what caused this situation. So you actually have people who are saying, "Oh, LeBron messed this up." No, their roster messed this up. Who controls their roster? Rob Pelinka. What did we learn? LeBron don't have as much power. They traded AD. They didn't want to go after the coach LeBron wanted in Ty Lue. He don't have as much power as people making it out to be. They're making these decisions. Now when it's all messed up and it's a mush, they want to blame they want to blame LeBron. So somebody else taking the L. So now let's get to Nick Wright. He is going to set people straight. So let's go.
So LeBron opted into his $52 million contract, and then came the trade rumors. Rich Paul came out with a statement and said LeBron knows the Lakers are building for the future. He understands that, but he values a realistic chance of winning it all.
Yes, we're forced to talk about LeBron again. What the fuck else has happened in free agency? The Kevin Durant trade that all of us knew was coming, that we talked about that was awesome, that was exciting. Other than that, it's been the deadest free agency imaginable. One team had cap space, it was the Nets. They decided to use it just to take other teams' bad contracts. Shams was telling us a month ago this could be the craziest offseason ever. Nothing's happened. Other than the Durant move, the most notable move is Norman Powell getting traded to Miami. Norman Powell, who, by the way, oddly enough, the only time Norman Powell's been discussed on regularly on podcasts and TV shows, aside from ones focused on the Clippers, was a different LeBron James thing when people were like, oh, what did anyone think of Norman Powell and his all-star spot if LeBron knew he wasn't going to play? And so, but I'm listening to and reading folks basically be like, all right, I guess we'll feed the content and engagement monster and have the boring, tired discussion of, could LeBron James be traded? You mean the greatest player of all time? Or, you know what, to not argue with folks, the at worst second greatest player of all time who's never been traded, who is open now potentially to being traded? That's a boring discussion. We'd rather talk about the Pacers losing Miles Turner because they don't want to pay the tax because Halliburton got hurt. That's what we'd rather talk about. Cam Whitmore for 2 second-round picks. Like, what are we doing? This is, and it's not lost on me today, this very moment, is the 15-year anniversary. I didn't know that until I saw an article written about it this morning. Today's the 15-year anniversary of the decision, which means we've had 15 years of enhanced, more round-the-clock, more 12-month-a-year, 365-day NBA transaction interest, from player empowerment to the owners trying to wrestle it back, super teams, homegrown, all of it. It came because LeBron and Maverick put together a TV show and changed the whole paradigm. And 15 years later, he's still one of, if not the...
Let me skip this thing forward to he's actually talking about the salary cap part.
Last year, we had an offseason, by the way. We're in the Olympics. The entirety of basketball media voted on awards. And after this season, if your name was not Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jason Tatum, or Donovan Mitchell, basketball media said you were not as valuable as LeBron James. Those are the 5 guys that finished higher in MVP voting. Those are the 5 guys who received more first-team All-NBA votes. That's the entire list. Not Steph, not Kawhi, not Durant, not who's the younger guys that I'm leaving out, not Cade, not... In what world is the league's, I don't know, I'll be conservative, 8th best player being the 13th highest paid player an impediment to winning? We just saw the Golden State Warriors trade for and then extend Jimmy Butler. And the narrative surrounding that is that opened Steph's championship window. Jimmy Butler makes more money than LeBron and is worse than LeBron. Say it again. But no, I'm talking about the right now. The right now, because by the way, I would bet LeBron's got as many All-NBA caliber seasons, more All-NBA caliber seasons left in him than Jimmy Butler does. Jimmy Butler's done being an All-NBA player. LeBron was last year. And Steph and LeBron probably have about the same amount of seasons left, give or take. And I'm talking about the here and the now. People thought that the Warriors made a great move giving Jimmy Butler that money. And it's a touch more than LeBron makes, and he's a worse player. Great player, but a worse player. He like in what universe is LeBron James making less than Karl Anthony Towns and the same as Paul George a bad contract? Not a world where he was second team All-NBA and sixth in MVP voting. So there's that piece of it. That if you're the 7th or 8th best player in the sport and you're the 13th highest paid player in the sport, you're on a bargain contract. Then there was this piece of it. Well, if he was really focused on winning, he should have taken less to help the Lakers. And that is a understandable opinion by fans and a just abhorrent job by the media in perpetuating that, because LeBron James, if he had cut his salary, DeMonte, from 50, if he had opted out of the 52 and said, you know what, I'll play for 20. You know how much cap space that opens up for the Los Angeles Lakers? $0. Not a penny.
So y'all remember when I was looking at the stuff that Lowe was saying, I said it didn't make sense? You just heard it. If he cut his salary in half, that will open up $0 for the Lakers in cap space. So that's why I said billionaire owners have convinced the media and fans, give them a deal and put the shame on the millionaire players, but defend the billionaire owners. If LeBron takes half his money, he opens up $0. So why would LeBron take half his money? That's the question. Why would he cut his money in half to save or to open up nothing being available? Let's go. Nick is going to say more.
Because they're that far over the cap already. If LeBron James had said, I'll go from $52 million to the league minimum, it would have opened up roughly $10 million in cap space for the Lakers. $10 million.
So if LeBron took around a $46 million pay cut, that'd be closer to like a $44 million pay cut. He opened up $10 million. So is LeBron losing $40+ million worth opening up $10 million for the Lakers? Because then who do you sign for $10 million? What guys are signing for $10 million? What guys signed in the $10 million a year range? You may be looking at Ty Jerome, maybe Sam Merrill. I don't even know of anybody else. Maybe a Brook Lopez. Are any of these guys worth LeBron losing $40+ million for? Nope. Nick he's cooking. Let's let him keep going.
So this idea that the Lakers could have been these major players in free agency if LeBron had simply taken a discount is belied by just the facts. And it's also and we all know this is true, a disingenuous discussion. Because had LeBron, let's say LeBron opted out and said, I'm going to be a free agent. And guess what, guys? I'm going to play for the minimum. The entire conversation would be about stacking the deck, unfair, fake ring, like that. It's so...
So Nick Wright just cooked everybody that I had previously. He just cooked them by showing that even if LeBron did what they said he should do, he broke down financially how it can impact the Lakers. And then he also brought up the next thing they were going to do is the new narrative that they would create if LeBron ended up doing that. So he cooked in his video. He cooked. I had a longer list of people, but it would have been too many videos of people who should have, rightfully took L's. So these are the people that should have took L's, talking about LeBron should have took less. The odd couple, they should have took an L. Skip Bayless should have took an L. I know I had Gil Zarino on there. Which was more McCants. Dang, I had a long list. I had like 6 videos of all people. ESPN. The first take backups, they should have took the L. It's just a laundry list. I think it was Jason McIntyre too. they all would have took L's because they all thought that LeBron screwed over the Lakers by him opting in, but they just had a lack of understanding of the financial situation for the Lakers, so they all would have took L's. We're rounding the corner coming into the main event with Cooper Flag. This is not going to be a long main event. This is somebody who I believe ESPN should have utilized when it came to the draft coverage, and they should have been the lead person. So, for instance, you know how Mel Kiper Jr. was the lead person on the NFL's draft coverage. Jay Billis should have been one of the lead people on the draft coverage. And I'm just going to find the clip here where he's going to talk about Cooper Flag. Rashad is going to try, McCants is going to try to debate him, and he's going to say, I said what I said. I'm not here to debate. It's the greatest.
In your opinion, will Cooper Flag make an immediate impact with the Mavs this season?
Yes. I think he's the real deal, especially at that age, to do what he did. I think he's the best freshman Duke's ever had.
Wow.
But definitely he's the most talented. I'm not saying he's more talented than Kyrie Irving or Grant Hill when they were freshmen, but he was better and did more. He led a Final Four team in scoring, rebounding, assists, steals, and blocks. And I think if you watched him play, you knew, he's the real thing. Now, how great is he going to be as a pro? I think he's going to continue to get better, and he'll be a great pro. He's got an all-in.
So Jay Billis's facts are he led a Final Four team in rebounds, steals, blocks, and assists. And he just said it. He's not saying this to debate.
NBA future, in my view. And in my view, he's equally as good as a defender as he is an offensive player, and he's a formidable offensive player. But you can play him all over the floor, and he's ultra competitive. And I know there are a ton of guys that are top prospects every year.
You don't think Zion Williamson is the best freshman ever?
Look, Rashad, it's a close call. I'm not suggesting that, Cooper Flag's great and everybody else sucked when they were freshmen. I'm not saying that. But I don't think he accomplished the same amount that Cooper Flag did as a 17, 18-year-old. And Zion was a phenomenon. I've honestly never seen anything like that guy on a basketball floor. I'm not sure I've seen it since. But
they went to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, they did. But Flag's more skilled. He shoots it better. I think he's more impactful defensively. And you could argue, is he a better rebounder, all that stuff. Zion didn't dominate all the categories in his freshman year like Flag did. And look, he played with RJ Barrett, so you could argue maybe there wasn't as much opportunity for him to shoot it every time he touched it and all that stuff.
So are we talking stats that's going to make him the best statistically being there, or are we talking about what we've seen with our two eyes? Like, I didn't see Cooper dominate like Zion Williamson dominated. People were scared of Zion and both sides of the floor. And this is not a comparison to diminish what Cooper is and what he's going to be. Yeah. But there are people that I think when this conversation comes up that I played against Lou Alding, I seen Jason Tatum, I seen a bunch of guys go to Duke, and they're really, really good, and it's pushing the lever higher for Cooper to succeed at being better than these players just because we haven't really seen him play at this level yet. So I'm going to always push back on that because I've seen a lot of great players. Zion is one of them, 22-9 at Duke, Elite Eight, could have won the championship if he don't blow that tire out with the foot thing. So, I just had to push back on that a little bit.
Yeah, and look, reasonable minds can differ. I'm not arguing with anybody. Anybody can think whatever they want. But I think that Cooper Flag impacted the game in more areas at a higher level. And that's not saying that he's going to have the better pro career than Jason Tatum or Zion or whomever. That remains to be seen. I'm not projecting that out. I think Grant Hill is probably overall more talented than Cooper Flag is and was and all that. If you were drafting a player saying I can have this guy healthy for his NBA career, I'd take Grant Hill. I think Grant Hill's the best player to ever play at Duke. But as far as what was done and accomplished and the performance of a freshman, nobody else did, in my view, what Cooper Flag did in 1 year.
Gotcha.
See McCann's face? That's the look of a person who came here for a debate, and the other person did not come here for a debate. So a lot of times with sports shows, people want to turn them into pseudo debate shows, and he laid out the points and the reasons why he stated what he said about Cooper Flag, and the points that McCants came back with, they didn't hold up to what he originally said. That's why he said, I'm not going to debate you. I'm not projecting these things out. And he just said, hey, politely hold this L, and we're going to move this thing forward. So I watched that entire interview that they had him on. I think he's a great basketball mind, Jay Billis, and he also is into the college game and watching these guys. So somebody like him should have been the lead person on the NBA's coverage, not the same people that ESPN just throws on their on all their basketball coverage and put them on there. So shout out to him. He shut that down quick. Moving forward. So this is going to be from Speak. I can't show you this, but let's kind of listen to a little bit of it and see what they have to say.
How much money you'll pay to go see this
think
game,
we
right?
it was like
Most
20,
tickets
I
go.
think that the floor seats was starting, I think, at $2,500.
That's crazy.
Man,
I paid
think about
$20
this.
last year at some of these.
In a moment, think about it. This is his the NBA. This is kind of like his NBA debut, his first taste of NBA competition.
Well, no, not last summer. He had NBA competition
that was
on
a
Olympics.
practice. This is like real refs, fans, popcorn popping. People paid for the seats, $2,500. You know, it was like
right.
You know what I'm saying? So it was like, all right. So some nerves was probably in there. It was anticipated because that's all we talked about on these sports outlets all day or coming up into it. So he got that under his belt. It's out the way. I look forward for him to really start getting comfortable. I wouldn't put it past his next game. I think they play again on Saturday. Tomorrow, I think he's going to go for like a good 20 and 10. Because usually after that first game, you get comfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You get it. All right, all this is, it's out the way. The lights, the popcorn, NBA, they go whoop over there. We play in the league, all of that, family and out the way. Okay, now settle in. He'll be all right. But I was impressed with the energy and aggressiveness and, trying to see him be at the top, working as a point forward. I was impressed. He's going to be all right.
Yeah, I mean.
All right, so that was Paul Pierce's assessment. Paul Pierce thinks that Summer League games should be free. That's just not how that works. Also, if they made those games free, scalpers would just wait and get the free tickets and then sell them. So it wouldn't work that way. Basically, he thinks that Cooper Flagg did good. He could have shot the ball better, and he has the all-around game. That's what I believe. I think that this is one of those situations very similar. I'm not saying he's Tim Duncan, so just listen to what I'm saying here. Tim Duncan going into that situation with the Spurs, where basically it was due to injuries that they didn't have as great of a season as they could, and then them getting the number one overall pick and getting Tim Duncan, and him going into like an established team, I think is very similar. Injuries and the trade of Luka and Cooper Flagg going there, he's not going to be responsible for turning around an NBA franchise like most number one overall picks are responsible to, and I think that's going to make it better for him to work his way into it and just grow and get better as the season progresses. And I think he just keep putting his head down and working. He's going to impact the game in so many different ways. And I said this, my first reaction to this was I thought that Jason Kidd is going to use him as a pseudo point guard. It's funny, Paul Pierce mentioned this also. And it's just one of those things where you're just going to help him see the floor better and get better in his decision making and setting up the offense, which will make him more well-rounded player in the NBA. So that is the main event with Cooper Flagg. Flip to the Bronny side of it. I'm just going to say this again. A lot of people are going to have to eat their words when it comes to Bronny by so many people saying that it was nepotism. They finally learned the definition of that word. They never called out any other nepotism since then. And then also, they said that Bronny shouldn't be in the NBA at all. Like, he wasn't an NBA player, and he's going to show that over time as he plays more that he's an NBA player. I think he has a real good shot to crack the Lakers rotation as a backup guard. Just understanding what to do, being willing to take that corner three and not being getting bodied, by players who are a little bit bigger. Because if you look at what the Lakers have coming off the bench, I mean, yeah, they got Gabe Vincent, but he spent a lot of time last year injured, and Lakers recently haven't had luck with signing guys coming from the Miami Heat and health, especially guards. So Bronny has a chance to get in there and play, especially if he can willingly shoot that corner three and he can play good on-ball defense. I think there's a role carved out for him this season on the Lakers. So the moment won't be too big, and he's just confidence. It's all confidence. His confidence was up and down last year, which is normal. Him being, coming from the cardiac arrest, but 2 years removed from it, he's feeling like himself more and more every single day. And I think that he will only get better. So I'm going to put receipts on people, too, who said he wasn't an NBA player. So just know it. Just know it. All right. I believe that was a great show. that was all of our topics, but we are going to end this thing off. Man, let me set this up. So let's get this out the way. We're going to end this thing off on comment creeping. So let's get this set up right. I got something else on the screen showing I don't want to show. There we go. All right, so comment creeping is where I bring you kind of behind the scenes to let you see what people say to me on some of my videos. So I was going at Stephen A. Smith and I was saying, are you the boss or is your team the boss? Because whenever you don't want to speak on something, you always blame your team. And I just couldn't really understand how your team is always the reason why stuff doesn't go right for you. So this is what someone said. They said sponsors. So people in this corner are giving him advice because of sponsorship. That's cool. I agree with it. I said, I understand that. I say respond or don't. If they give you advice and you don't use it, why tell us? Which I agree with that. Why tell us if you're not going to use the advice? The next one. I feel like I'm the only one that understands this simple concept that anyone with a podcast or in media should understand. Just because you disagree with what someone says doesn't mean they're bad at their job. This was about Kendrick Perkins. And I said it doesn't automatically mean they're bad, but once you have years of bad takes, that's when I start to question someone. Which if you're supposed to be an NBA analyst and then for years you can't determine any up and coming talent, you can't determine any teams that seem like they're on the rise, you can't pick a playoff series to save your life. At some point we got to question, like, do you really know what you're talking about? All right, so this is just to show you that sometimes people comment and dig in deep and they kind of don't really even know the subject of what they're speaking on. This is Kendrick Perkins. I thought Kendrick Perkins got too sensitive based on what Bill Simmons said. This is what someone else said. I have no idea what Bill said. What I do know is way too many fans and media members talk down to former professional athletes. Bill Simmons, Colin Cowherd, Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless. I said, Bill Simmons questioned what Perk said about the Raptors being a top 6 seed. It's in a video from a few posts ago. So people just go in with the view of that person's wrong regardless of what they said. And I wouldn't take that stance. I don't like to keep putting my foot in my mouth by not just knowing what I'm responding to. I've done that a couple times on X and it's embarrassing. And you just got to bite the bullet and take the L. All right, this is the last one. This is me highlighting Shaq last week and me saying, hey, people don't realize how dominant Shaq was. And this person took it to David Robinson. So this person said, David Robinson had size, strength, and mobility. You don't drop 70 points unless you're dominant. Actually, the other way you can drop 70 points is you're trying to win a scoring title and your team is forcibly giving you the ball and forcing you to shoot so you can win a scoring title because it was a big accomplishment that they wanted you to achieve, which is what happened when he scored that 70. David Robinson is a great Hall of Famer. I don't think he was as dominant as Shaq, though. He brought up David Robinson. I responded to it. He said, again, go check his tape, and I'm not saying he was better than Shaq. So the point of the post that this person is responding to is me saying Shaq is dominant. People were downplaying it to defend Kobe. I put actual NBA players, and funnily, David Robinson was the first NBA player that was speaking on how dominant Shaq was, and this person said, go look up David Robinson, as if I don't know who David Robinson is, but okay. I don't understand what you mean if you bring up David Robinson scoring 70 and how dominant he was, and then I acknowledge how good David Robinson was, and then I just say he not as dominant as Shaq, and you say you're not comparing him to Shaq. And then you tell me to go watch his tape like I just didn't call him great and Hall of Famer. I know who the general was. The Admiral. David Robinson. I know. But that's it. That's it for the show today. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this show. Got some new things that I'm working on, some new things I'm adding to the show. Kind of changed the format just a tad bit today because we really had some points that I really want to get into. Also, we're kind of ramping up and going into time where football is ramping up. So we got Cleveland Browns rookies reporting on July 18th. So that's less than a week away. That's about 6 days away. So we'll be leaning into more football. Basketball truly being the off season, so we'll be going more football, looking at more college football things. Might even see if there's a way I can kind of do some throwbacks to show how great some former NFL players were. So we'll see what we can do. Also, be looking for Offtharecorddee on all platforms. Subscribe, comment, and like. help me, reach those goals I'm trying to reach on all my platforms. And then lastly, coming really soon, we'll be on Apple Music and Spotify. So shout out to y'all for being here. Appreciate y'all. Catch y'all in the next one. It's been a great show. Peace.
you